Welcome and good evening, everybody. Welcome to our City of Farmers Branch Council meeting for Tuesday, January 23rd.
Get a little bit closer to it.
It needs to be longer. Can y'all hear me?
There you go.
Okay. I'll start over. Good evening. Welcome, everybody, to City Council meeting, City Council meeting for Tuesday, January 23rd. First up is our Pledge of Allegiance and Invocation, which will be led by Councilman Merritt.
If you bow your heads. Thank you for the opportunity to join together this evening to do the work of the city. Thank you for all the individuals that make our city the wonderful place that it is, our first responders, our city staff, all the residents and businesses that operate in our city. We're so grateful that their meaningful participation this evening is putting forward the best effort for our community. Now, if you'll join me, we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance.
I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now, if you'll join me in the Texas Pledge. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Thank you very much. You may be seated.
So we have a number of ceremonial items that we're going to take care of this evening. And first up is a presentation honoring the Dallas College Brookhaven women's soccer team for winning their third in a row national championship.
So the City of Farmers Branch emphasizes and recognizes, come on up guys, ladies, recognizes the vital role that higher education plays in the success of our city and community. Dallas Brookhaven College campus was founded in 1978 and is nestled between Valley View Lane and Marsh Lane. And some of us know that because we went there. That was years ago. The college serves about 13,000 students a semester and is home of the Bears national soccer team. The Dallas College Brookhaven campus serves the communities of Farmers Branch, Addison, Carrollton, and North Dallas. College has a 19-to-1 student to faculty ratio that strives for excellence in the classroom and on the field. So the Brookhaven Bears won the NJCAA D3 National Championship in 2023. That's no small feat. I had a daughter in soccer, as probably many of you did, and that takes a lot of work to rise to that level. A lot of work. The Brookhaven Bears women's soccer team knows how to win because it didn't just win it last year. This is their third time in a row. And so we're here to honor you tonight. We have this part of the soccer team here. It takes more than just 4 players to play a soccer game, but and their coach. And the city would like to present you, Coach Robert Williams, and the team with our city's commemorative coin.
Hello, everybody. First of all, thank you, Farmers Branch City Council, for recognizing us. It was a great feat, obviously. Great thing about this, it's just a wonderful team. We have a great team. Going to national tournament, it's always best for us when they say, Farmers Branch, Texas. So it's always great there, and we help to put Farmers Branch on the map with these great young ladies. I'm also great in the classroom as well, but we thank you for all your support, everything. We also would like to thank your Parks and Rec department. The partnership that we have with them is always great. So we're going to continue to do this and want to bring some more trophies back to Farmers Branch. So thank you.
Next up is E2, which is presentation of the Employee of the Month for November to Anita Bayaro of the Police Department. And here to join me is Councilwoman Bennett.
I'm shorter. Sorry, guys. The City of Farmers Branch has a strong culture that nurtures respect, where we value everyone's opinion and acknowledge their perspective. We strive for excellence and constantly look for ways to do our very best. We believe in accountability, we care, and trust. These are the city's core values. This is our culture, REACT. The leadership of the City of Farmers Branch appreciates the effort, dedication, and time our employees put into their jobs. The city has a program to recognize employees for depicting these values. We appreciate and recognize our employees' hard work and efforts. Tonight, we recognize Anita Bayaro, a detention officer in the police department, as our Employee of the Month for the month of November 2023. Anita Bayaro has been with the City of Farmers Branch since June of 1999, nearly 25 years. She recently demonstrated extraordinary care with a man at the jail window when he ran out of gas and forgot his wallet. Anita not only personally took him to the nearest gas station, but she generously paid for his gas. Her quick thinking and selflessness assisted the man in a crisis and showcased a level of empathy that goes beyond her responsibilities as a detention officer. Her actions serve as a powerful reminder that the simple acts of kindness can positively affect our community.
How y'all doing? I'm Lieutenant Dyer, and I'm in charge of the detention facility right now. And I'm happy to be here to say a few words about Anita and let her know how much we appreciate her representation of the city. Anita has a big heart. She has always done many acts of kindness throughout the years. On one occasion, she talked to a detainee that was going to be released in cold weather without warm clothing. Anita took her lunch break, went to the store, and bought them some warm clothes. I didn't even hear about it till much later. Anita does not seek recognition. She does take extraordinary actions that bring credit to the police department and the city. Anita is not a pushover in the jail either. She takes control of situations and keeps people in line when she needs to. Anita has been with us for almost 25 years, and I'm proud to work with her, and I hope she will stay at least until I retire. Anita, can I get that commitment for you to stay until at least I retire while we're here? All right, thank you.
So just real quick, Kevin McCoy, I'm the chief of police, and I don't need either one of these two to retire because they keep that facility working very well. But for Anita and all the detention staff, they are the unsung heroes of the police department. They don't get all of the attention and the praise that we get in the social media world because they're back behind locked doors where they can't really see what's going on outside, taking care of business. So thank you very much for all that you do, and I also want to present you with the Chiefs coin. So thank you. You gotta come out to take a picture. Sorry.
Now. Okay. Thank you.
So next up is E3, which is presentation of the Employee of the Month for December 2023 to Rafael Dominguez of the Fleet and Facilities Department.
Once again, I'm David Merritt. The City of Farmers Branch has a strong culture that nurtures respect, where we value everyone's opinion and acknowledge their perspective. We strive for excellence and constantly look for ways to do our very best. We believe in accountability, we care and trust. These are the city's core values. This is our culture, REACT. The leadership of the City of Farmers Branch appreciates effort, dedication, and the time our employees put into their jobs. The city has a program to recognize employees for depicting these values. We appreciate and recognize our employees' hard work and effort. Tonight, for the month of December, we recognize Rafael Dominguez fleet technician in our Fleet and Facilities Department as Employee of the Month for the month of December 2023. Rafael Dominguez has proven himself to be an invaluable employee since November of 2021 when he first joined the city. He constantly goes above and beyond, from aiding a stranded coworker during a storm to volunteering extra time to ensure a police department's vehicle's readiness. His accountability and care shine through. Notably, on Christmas Day, he promptly fixed a disabled ambulance despite being over an hour away, showcasing his dedication to our city's fleet. Rafael's commitment and swift response to calls for help to our city vehicles embodies REACT. We cannot work as efficiently as we do without employees like Rafael. We are thankful to have him as a part of our team. Thank you.
Congratulations. Let me give you this. Perla, were you going to say a word? Okay.
I don't have my paper, I have my phone. Perla Tavera, Deputy Director of Finance. I want to thank Rafael. I personally know that employee he saved. It was me. So thank you. And I want to thank you for your work. It speaks volumes about your dedication, unwavering positivity, and commitment to the City of Farmers Branch. It has not gone unnoticed, specifically from me and Kevin, so thank you.
So I've been a fleet technician for a long time and recently became the fleet operations manager for Farmers Branch. And I can't think of a better man to get this award. He's been right rocking the shop. I couldn't do it without him. He keeps this city rolling, literally. So thank you, Rafael.
Thank you.
Next up is E4, which is a presentation of the Aquatics International Magazine's 2023 Best of Aquatics Award to the Farmers Branch Aquatics Center. And Councilman Baird is going to help me with this.
Aquatics International Magazine honors exceptional achievements in the aquatic industry annually, and this year, the Farmers Branch Aquatic Center has earned well-deserved recognition. Specifically highlighted in the Aquatic Center Outstanding Staff Development Program, which stands out for its innovative blend of traditional job skills education, with essential life skills training. At the heart of the Aquatic Center training programs are two core elements: a focus on skill, excellence, and fostering a sense of camaraderie among the team, transforming colleagues into a close-knit family. Throughout the year, the engaging training featuring guest speakers renowned for their expertise. These sessions go beyond professional development, offering valuable life skills that benefit the aquatics team members personally and professionally.
I just want to say how proud I am with this team. The aquatics team over there have won multiple awards. Matter of fact, Paul, who is the aquatics manager right now, is out of town and just found out a little earlier that we won the Texas Public Pool Agency or Council Award. I'm sorry, I'm trying to learn all these acronyms here, but another award that they've won. So, I mean, they work really hard over there, and I couldn't be prouder of this team and what they've been doing and going to continue to do here in Farmers Branch. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you.
So next up is item E5, presentation of the Texas Recreation and Park Society, or TRAPS, North Region 2023 Recreation Facilities Design Excellence Award to the Farmers Branch Community Recreation Center. And here to help with that is Councilman Roman.
So we've got another award for the Parks and Recreation Department. The Texas Recreation and Park Society, TRAPS for short, annually recognizes outstanding achievements in the parks and recreation industry. This year, the Farmers Branch Community Recreation Center has earned well-deserved acclaim for its exceptional contributions to the field by winning the TRAPS North Region 2023 Recreation Facility Design Excellence Award. Inaugurated in 2004, the Recreation Center has long remained a cornerstone of the Farmers Branch community. To meet our community's evolving needs, the Community Recreation Center underwent a comprehensive first-floor renovation in 2020. The renovation's first phase focused on conveying an underutilized basketball gym into a state-of-the-art fitness zone. Our team creatively repurposed areas, expanded childcare, and transformed a teen room, allowing members heightened access to our facility amenities and rental spaces. Notably, this added 11,100 square feet of fitness space without having to actually undergo a physical expansion. The first phase of the renovation earned its own regional TRAPS Facility Design Excellence Award in 2021. The second phase of the renovation focused on updating the second floor to measure up to the newly created atmosphere of the Recreation Center's first floor. Because of the Recreation Center's team's vision, creativity, and unique approach to developing solutions, both phases of the renovation maximized space and efficiency. The result is a successful revitalization of a treasured resource in our community that serves Farmers Branch families more than ever before. And with us, we've got our team here from the Farmers Branch Recreation Center.
Everybody's shy. I want to say again, this is another part of the Parks and Rec Department, and I couldn't be more happier with this team here. They are so far outside the box. I mean, generating all kinds of new things all the time. I mean, it makes my job easy. And they're always coming up with solutions, and that's what brings success, is being able to come up for solutions to the issues that come up. And they have worked really, really hard. Jessica has done an outstanding job with this team, and she leads, and they trust her. And when you can trust and have that dependence on your team members, you're going to be successful. And thank you very much for all that y'all do. Thank you.
Okay. You want to take a picture? I thought we do, because you got another award coming, so we can do it.
I'm going to get in the back.
Let's see. Okay. All right, everybody smile.
That's hers on.
There we go.
Thank you.
Stay close. Next up is E6, which is presentation of another award from the Texas Recreation and Park Society, TRAPS, North Region, for the 2023 Park Design Excellence Award for the John F. Burke Nature Preserve. Councilman Rowland?
Thank you, Mayor. The Texas Recreation and Park Society, TRAPS again, and North Region is comprised of cities in North Texas that recognize and honor those organizations that have made outstanding contributions to the field of parks and recreation. The Parks Design Excellence Award is awarded to an organization for raising standards for parks, open spaces, and recreation to enhance the quality of life. The John F. Burke Nature Preserve was awarded the Park Designation Excellence for 2023. Developing a nature preserve and protecting natural resources while keeping it accessible is both challenging but rewarding. Both were accomplished with the development of the John F. Burke Nature Preserve. The site had very low-lying wetland areas, thick forests, and water features that could only be seen by creating lookouts. The nature preserve was developed to provide functionality and accessibility to the wetlands, the river, and forested areas accommodated by optimal placed river and pond lookouts, boardwalks over wetlands, and winding nature trail providing the community diverse nature experiences in the various areas of the preserve. Carrie, would you like to say something?
Sure. Thank you, Councilman. This is another award. I mean, this is like Christmas, right? This is great. If you haven't been to John Burke, it's on the west end of town, down here by George Bush, and we have 102 acres out there. And we've been developing this area for a long time. It's been a process. When we first went out there, I remember the last, or sometime back, Jeff Hardy, when he was director, I went out there with him and we designed, I cut all those trails out there. And then Ross, we even had him out there until he broke the equipment. And so we went out there and we've worked hard. And I say that to say this, we've spent a lot of time and effort out there to get this thing to where it is today. If you haven't been out there, please go out and take a look at it. It's really a great place to be. If you love to take a nature walk, just go out there and enjoy nature. It's really, really nice. And Ross was over this project here through the construction phase of it. And it was trying at times, I think. And but it was a long haul and we made it through it. Working together to get through this, and it was a great feat to accomplish. So thank you very much.
So it is at 1111 Valley View. If you have not been out there, absolutely take the time to go out there. It is an absolute gem. There's nothing like it in the area. So I would highly encourage you to go check this thing out and take your dogs out there, ride your bike. We have both a ADA accessible trail as well as some more remote trails. And it's right there on the Elm Fork of the Trinity. So, thank y'all.
Pardon me for squirming around up here. I had back surgery last week, so I'm just trying to find a comfortable position to stand in. Next up is E7, presentation of a proclamation designating the month of January 2024 as Firefighter Cancer Awareness Month in Farmers Branch. So with the City Council and City Manager's support, the Fire Department has implemented several cancer prevention measures, multiple standard operating procedures related to cancer awareness and prevention, safe use of bunker gear, and respiratory protection. Bunker gear extractors in each fire station, bunker gear dryers in each fire station, apparatus exhaust removal systems. Each firefighter is issued a second set of bunker gear. All certified personnel have completed the Firefighter Cancer Support Network Safety Training Course and National Fire Protection Association 1582 medical exam for every firefighter. We will conduct the NFPA 1582 medical exams this year in April and May. This medical exam has helped identify cancer and other medical issues at an early stage in several of our firefighters, which has allowed our firefighters the opportunity to seek treatment and be able to continue serving our wonderful community. So I have a proclamation that I'd like to read. And this is a proclamation declaring Firefighter Cancer Awareness Month. Whereas the connection between firefighting and cancer is real, and it's killing firefighters at much higher rates than the general public. As part of efforts to prevent and reduce firefighters' risk of occupational cancer, the International Association of Firefighters and the Firefighter Cancer Support Network are partnering to designate January as Firefighter Cancer Awareness Month. And whereas the campaign, which kicks off January 1st, draws attention to the scope of cancer in the fire service and focuses on education, best practices for prevention, and helping survivors of occupational cancer. Resources include safety stand-downs, daily training briefs, fact sheets, and other tools for prevention and mitigation. And whereas 100% of the certified members of the Farmers Branch Fire Department have successfully completed the FCSN safety course entitled Taking Action Against Cancer in the Fire Service. And whereas firefighter occupational cancer is the leading cause of line-of-duty death, and the International Association of Firefighters and FCSN are committed to providing members with the best possible methods of prevention to reduce their risk of cancer. And whereas Firefighter Cancer Awareness Month was established by a convention resolution passed at the 2018 International Association of Fireworks Convention, with a goal to provide a collaborative network for fire service members to share information and best practices to reduce preventable cancer risk throughout the entire year and beyond. And whereas during the month of January, the International Association of Firefighters and FCSN will promote cancer awareness and education online through email communications, social media, and podcasts addressing this important issue. Now, therefore, I, Terry Lynn, Mayor of the City of Farmers Branch, and on behalf of the City Council, do hereby designate January 2024 as Firefighter Cancer Awareness Month. So I'd like to invite Chief Latimer to say a few words, if he would.
I'll take that few words. Yeah, okay. So in about 20 minutes, I'll be done. But no, seriously, Mayor and Council and residents, thank y'all so very much. You got to hear a lot of words right there, but to boil it down, my job as the fire chief and the job of the assistant chiefs and the job of our leadership is to take care of these guys. So these are the guys that are out there making calls at your house. These are the guys that are out there at our businesses. They're on the streets. They're spending 24 hours out there. They're away from their families. They're out there. We've had a lot of fires lately. They had a fire last shift, a couple of them. And our job is to protect them so they can come back to work and do it again and take care of us. And so I want to thank all of y'all for committing to the budget. That's where we get all this from. If y'all didn't commit the dollars to us every year where we come up here and present and ask, we can't provide this to them. It goes with our pay, our time off, our benefits, all that we have. But most importantly, it's our health. And this exam has allowed us, as we read, to identify early on. We've had a few of our guys go through this. They catch it early. So when I came over here 17 years ago, coming up on my very first month, I didn't ever work with Lieutenant Patterson, but these guys back here that they did, a few of them that I looked up to when I got here. And so my first month, we were burying him at a funeral from cancer. So it is near and dear to a lot of our guys in the department because we have lost somebody to cancer. And so thank you so very much for supporting us the way that y'all do every year so we can have these things in our station, and the replacement programs for supporting those so we can have new gear and have 2 sets of gear and have all the stuff that we need. So thank y'all very much for supporting us. We love y'all very much. We appreciate y'all's support. Thank you.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
All right, Mayor, our items of community interest tonight for the council meeting of January 23rd, 2023. Dads and daughters will shake, rattle, and roll at the 2024 Daddy-Daughter Dance. Get your tickets now. It'll be Saturday, February 3rd from 6 to 8 p.m. at the Community Rec Center. Enjoy an evening of music, dancing, fun activities, refreshments, and a keepsake photo. Tickets are limited, must be purchased in advance. Call 972-247-4607 or stop by 14050 Hartside Place. Farmers Branch has $13 million in municipal debt retiring or rolling off the books this year. Our City Council has considered replacing it with new debt for several municipal projects. 5 of them could be on the May ballot. If voters approve all 5, there would be no change in the city's current tax rate. There are several town halls now scheduled to explain the entire proposal. You can get more details on the homepage at farmersbranchtx.gov. We'd like to recognize 2 new staff appointments tonight. They're here with us in the council chambers. First, a welcome to Jennifer Rainey. Jennifer, stand up. She is, yes, we're glad to have her. She's our new assistant to the city manager, and she joins us from the city of Denton. Also, a congratulations to our incoming Director of Parks and Recreation, Robert Diaz. Robert previously served Farmers Branch as the Deputy Director of Sustainability, and he served the city of Wiley as their Director of Parks. So congratulations to you both. Are you considering a run for office to join our council? Well, candidate filing for the May 4th city elections continues through February 16th. Seats for Council Districts 3 and 5 will be on the ballot. Candidate packets are available in the City Secretary's office and on the elections webpage of the city website. Call 972-919-2503 for more details. Okay, have you noticed our new screen and the new sound system here in the council chambers? During the last few weeks, we had contractors install a new lower screen above the dais and an HD projector in back and new speakers, hopefully to provide a much better viewing experience and listening experience during our council meetings. Big improvements also ahead for the Branch Connection, specifically a new lobby, library, theater, and more. The renovation does mean a temporary closure, but many of the Connection's activities, club meetings, and classes will continue at other locations. Look for updates on the Branch Connection's website and the Facebook page. The Mustang Station Arts and Culture District now has signage. Patrons may have noticed new street sign toppers in the Mustang Station Arts and Culture District. 15 separate intersections have this designation to help identify the boundaries of the district. The Barney Wood Dog Park is temporarily closed due to the cold, wet weather. Prolonged rain makes the soil and grass extremely soggy and almost impossible to maintain, but it will reopen as soon as the fields dry out. Calling all student artists, DART has a student art contest underway now. Designs must be original work to illustrate the theme, Explore DART's 13 Cities. It's open to students K through 12, 1 entry per student. Each must use DART in the design. Visit dart.org/art contest for more details. And we want your best cell phone snapshots of Farmers Branch. Share your photos of Farmers Branch people, parks, pets, and or events with us. Use hashtag #InTheBranch or email them to fbinfo@farmersbranchtx.gov. And we thank you. And as always, you can sign up for City e-News at farmersbranchtx.gov. Mayor?
Thank you, Jeff. Next up is our report on study session items. We had a pretty full study session this afternoon. There were a couple changes, though. Let me tell you about the changes first. So items A3 and A4 are going to be moved to the May agenda sometime after the May election. And then Item A9 is being moved to our regular agenda and will become item J5. So A9 becomes J5 this evening, and item A10 will be tabled until probably the next meeting. So that one was not discussed. But we did have presentation from the city's bond council, which was very informative, to remind us what we can and cannot say regarding bond information after an election is called. We are here to provide information, and that is the extent of what we are to do. As council members and city staff, we're not advocating one way or the other for or against a bond. You can have individual conversations with your council representatives to get more information on that. We did have a discussion regarding some grant funding that we received from the American Rescue Plan, and it related to the Justice Center and Mercer Park. And since there are time requirements that this money has to be spent within, and both were approved projects, some of the money from Mercer Park is going to be moved over to the Justice Center. Mercer Park is not losing any funding. It will just come through a different funding bucket back to the park. So you can go online and watch that discussion. We will be having a City Council strategic planning session starting in February. Where do we want the city to go? What do we want Farmers Branch to be? These are important questions. What do you want your city to be? Talk to your council representatives. Make your voice heard. As we start in February going through not only strategic planning, but also budget discussions, it's very important that we hear from you as to where do we go as a city? What's our next step? So we want to hear from you, the residents. And then we did have some discussion and provided initial feedback regarding a draft landscape amendment plan, which would amend the comprehensive zoning ordinance for the city. So the council gave input, very good input, to a discussion that's been ongoing by planning and zoning regarding landscape requirements, and especially landscape requirements for redeveloped properties, because we have a lot of homes in the city that are being torn down and rebuilt. So we want to make sure that that they meet some minimum requirements, and that's what we're working on right now. For more information on any of these items that were discussed in study session, you can go to farmersbranchtx.gov and watch the whole study session there. I'm going to ask at this time, is there anybody here who is wishing to speak at citizen comment? Okay, I am going to move citizen comment up to this point in our agenda because I do have one speaker, and I'm going to allow him to speak now instead of having to wait till the end of the night. So, Jerry Vivero went to the bathroom. Richard, do you see him walking back? Okay. Another audible. I'll go ahead and we'll take care of our consent agenda, then come back to that. So we have a consent agenda tonight. However, items H3 and H4 will not be on the consent agenda, so those are scratched for this evening. And item H14, which was to consider voting for a candidate in the runoff election for Dallas Central Appraisal District Board of Directors, and the council has expressed their preference to vote for Michael Hurt, who has been representing Farmers Branch. So that is the only change that I have, or changes that I have. So I will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda with those changes.
Mayor, I'll be happy to make a motion to approve the consent agenda with the modifications that were discussed.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you. A motion is second. Still do by punch? Okay, if you would, please indicate your vote. Yeah, that's all. Did everybody vote? Consent agenda is approved unanimously. Thank you very much. Okay, so now we're going to go back to citizen comment. And first up is Jerry Vivero.
Hello, Mr. Mayor, council members. I appreciate your taking this time out.
Name and address.
My name is Jerry Vivero. I'm at 3544 Cloverdale. I just really wanted to thank our police department. I've had an issue on my street with, just some problems in general, that with Mr. Jackson's guidance, he's really shown me how to move through the system to get my issue resolved. The police department have helped me over and over and over. They've been there in the middle of the night. They've taken time to talk to me, time to talk to my family. They've helped my neighbors unite together to create our own network to kind of look out for each other. I've been treated with nothing but respect by y'all. I've watched them, even when they've made arrests, treat those people with respect. Even just so much as watching, just taking care of the property that they're on. They're not just tearing things up. I don't really know how to really say this. I just really appreciate everything y'all have done. They've been there for me. I feel safer. I feel like the neighborhood's getting better. You introduced me to several people. Detective Green has been in constant touch with me. He's really kept me abreast of the situation, updated to the best of his ability without obviously giving away anything too pertinent, and that's really all I had to say. Just thank y'all so much. Again, I'm at 3544 Cloverdale, so surely that must ring a bell. So thank you all very much. I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, next up is a public hearing, item I-1. Conduct a public hearing and consider adopting ordinance number 3838 for a multifamily development on approximately 2.49 acres located at 12055 Luna Road, described as Lot 2, Block A, Royal Hospitality Edition, within the Planned Development District number 88, zoning, PD 88 zoning district, and take appropriate action.
Thank you, Mayor, council members. Marcos Narvaez, Deputy Director of Planning. The applicant is seeking to amend PD 88 with special exceptions for a new apartment complex located on Luna Road. This will consist of a 7-story building with 145 units. That's essentially 5 stories on top of a 2-level podium garage. The PD does break, or the PD breaks, or actually subdivides different areas into different sub-districts in this particular ordinance. And this area does fall under an area called Urban Center, which allows for multifamily uses. However, back in 2015, a site plan with detailed elevations was adopted into PD 88's ordinance. This included an apartment complex to the north and north of this location, and a hotel located on this particular site. So in short, this amendment is required because the proposed use does not align with the adopted site plan, which is a part of this plan development. The site does include 9,300 square feet, 9,300 square foot courtyard with a swimming pool, swimming deck, all on the third floor above the podium garage. There is a proposed dog park adjacent to Luna Road. This will be enclosed with a 5-foot tall decorative steel fence. Pedestrian pathways are proposed all around the building. There's also an 8-foot wide walking path along Luna Road. 19 new trees will be installed throughout the site as opposed to being installed along the right-of-way. This is also due to the proposed Trinity River Authority easement that's going to be going along this area. One of the general principal design standards that are required within PD 88 also requires what's called a slip road along Luna Road. All development that has occurred along Luna Road has basically sought exceptions for this required slip street. And this development is also requesting the same thing. So that's one of the special exceptions that the applicant's going to be looking for. The slip road really is not feasible due to the rehab project that the TRA is going to be doing within this location. In addition to this, the parking, they are proposing 181 parking spaces. That actually does exceed the minimum requirement for this planned development. The elevations do provide a variety of brick and cement panels and siding, which helps promote architectural interest for this building. This project does include wraparound balconies. It includes metal canopies, metal railings. In addition, there's decorative louvers and perforated panels that will be used to screen the openings of the podium parking. This absolutely adds an ornamental effect to the parking garage. The applicant has also included articulation along the roof line with height variations and decorative cornice detailing. So the city's 2045 plan does designate this particular area with the high density residential, which is a part of our future land use map. So not only is it consistent with the underlying zoning of PD 88, but this request also is consistent with our new 2045 plan. 18 zoning notification letters were mailed to surrounding property owners. We did receive one letter in opposition from outside the 200-foot boundary. And on December 11th, the Planning and Zoning Commission did recommend denial of this request by a vote of 4-3. So as I mentioned earlier, there were 2 special exceptions that are listed in your staff report. This includes the required build line that's adjacent to Luna Road. That would be set as shown in the site plan, and then the frontage along Luna Road would also need to be developed as shown in the site plan. And again, this is all due to the TRA easement. So with that, I can take any questions that you may have. And we do have the applicant here present as well.
Very good. Thank you, Marcos. The council, I'll start on my left with Councilman Roman.
So, so we're talking about the southern portion of this large parcel of property, right?
Correct.
So my understanding is the north portion, there's a much larger apartment complex that is already allowed by right.
Yes, sir.
And that's currently being constructed.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so the southern portion, the one that's furthest away from the residents, that one is here before us. And what's the reason that, I guess, the one in the south now has to go through this process? What's the history of that property and when things were passed?
Sure. So, and it might be easier if I just show you on this timeline here, but not to go too far back, but going back to 1977, actually, this area was allowed for industrial uses at that time. And as time progressed, the PD changed to PD 78, which actually allowed for retail and office uses. And it wasn't until 2006, that's when PD 88 came to fruition. And through PD 88, that's where they allowed for mixed use, commerce, multifamily, all of those types of uses were permitted in this particular district. Now, in 2015, that's when the hotel came into play in this location. And not only was an SUP approved, but a detailed site plan with elevations, all of that was adopted into PD 88. 2017, they did some changes to that hotel site. They changed the elevations, they changed the landscaping, but all of that again was adopted back into PD 88. So what you're seeing on the screen right now includes the multifamily that was to the north, the site plan, the adopted site plan, and the hotel that was to the south. So essentially, PD 99, which came in afterwards, that kind of surrounded PD 88. That happened in, 2017, and that's when the single-family uses were permitted around this area. Again, the area has always been required to have more commerce, multifamily, those types of uses.
So are you saying that if you go back one slide, are you saying that the plan for that area having apartments and hotels came before the plan to have residential
Yes,
around
sir.
it?
Absolutely, yes, sir. The hotel really came into play also because you were going to have more commerce uses. And it was supposed to be more of an employment district at a time. So with that employment district, warrants having hotels and possible multifamily. But when PD 99 came into play, that really changed the landscape. This particular pocket area never changed to PD 99. That was left out. So now you have these not conflicting uses, but again, having a hotel at one time really worked well with more commerce in the area or employment in the area. Now we've got single family in the area. So the question right now is, does multifamily make more sense in this location? And I think from staff's perspective, knowing what's shown in the comprehensive plan, and again, knowing that you now have more single family and less commerce, this tends to make a little bit more sense from staff's perspective.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I think I'm good for right now. I
Yes,
may
sir.
have more questions, but I'm okay now.
Very good. Councilman Baird? Can you tell me how many apartment complexes we have in the city right now that are either existing or under construction and approved?
Sure. Yeah, so we're probably at about, total-wise, and I just emailed our chief of police this number, but I want to say it was over 11,000 total in the city.
So individual units?
Individual units.
Okay.
But then when we're looking at proposed units, that again, have not been constructed, right? You're looking at about 2,000. So there's probably about 2,000, probably about 2,000 units that are by right, but have not been constructed. So they're zoned for it, but have not been built.
They're zoned, but they haven't been approved?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. They would still need, most of them would probably still need to go through a site plan review process. They may trigger having to come before the council also. It just depends on the plan development.
Okay.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you. That's all for now.
Councilwoman?
Can you tell me the one negative that you received? Can you point out his house on here for me?
Yeah, actually, let me see if I can find it on here. I believe, and not for certain, is that okay that I point that out, Kevin? Okay. I believe it's that corner home, this location right here. It was either here or in this location here.
That's what I understood it to be as well. Okay.
Yeah.
So, and I've read all of this, but my understanding is we didn't, because of the proximity, we didn't really inquire with them. Is that correct?
That is correct, actually, council member. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to pull up the actual zoning map. Well, it's more of a notification map, and the notification goes into the alleyway. We actually did a little bit more research into this to figure out if, and again, we use GIS when we do this. So if the buffer doesn't hit the property boundary, we don't notify. We only notify what falls within that property boundary. And it fell within that rights-of-way area, but not necessarily on the property boundary. We had discussions with our attorney also on this as well.
Right, I think that's, I'm just going to say it, I think that's kind of petty
Yes, sir.
to not
Yes,
allow, to not do that. But the property north of it that is already being constructed with apartments, were the residents notified then?
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
Did
ma'am.
we have any negative pushback on that?
Yeah, and then again, that's going back to when it was zoned. This last go-around, when they approved the site plan, that did not trigger any type of notification. That's how the PD is set up. The PD is set up for, going back to, let me pull up the actual site plan. The site plan that you see up here in 2015 and 2017, notifications would have gone out then. Problem then is that PD 99 didn't exist at that time. So there wasn't anybody to notify.
And
There
so
was.
then my
Yes, ma'am.
next question is, for us as a city, the responsibility of communicating to those homeowners, those new buyers.
Yes, ma'am.
What is going to go in there? I mean, what is zoned? That's our responsibility to share that and to communicate that clearly and concisely so they know what they are purchasing. And my understanding is that was not what has transpired. I would like to know how we're going to correct this in the future.
Actually, it's not the city's responsibility to tell everybody who comes in and buys a piece of property what their zoning is. It's the responsibility of the property owner to investigate what that is. State law dictates that the city has to, when there's a change in zoning regulations, send notifications out to every property owner within an area being rezoned and within 200 feet of that area. That's currently what the comprehensive zoning ordinance requires. To just pick and choose what cases you go beyond that and that you don't go beyond that would put the staff in a position of making some policy decisions that frankly they can't be in and could accuse them of playing favorites to either applicants or residents. And so if the council at some point wanted to go beyond that 200-foot area, you certainly could, but at some point you have to decide, is 200 foot, is it 300 foot, is it half a mile? And because it ends up creating an issue regarding, what is allowed. In any case, the protest area would still be, and this is the other aspect of it, those who live within the 200-foot area surrounding an area being rezoned can file written protest, and if there's a sufficient number representing 20% of that area within that 200-foot buffer, it can trigger, as you know, the three-quarter vote requirement of the entire council to approve a zoning case over that protest. Even if you extended that notification area beyond the 200-foot required by state law, it would still only be the 200-foot within, people within 200 foot, because that's what the statute says that you would have to comply with, that would be allowed to file those formal protests to trigger that supermajority vote. I've had cities, known cities who do have in their zoning ordinances that go beyond the 200-foot area. I've known one city that goes as far as 500 feet. And eventually they've kind of lived to regret it at some time and decided to pull it back to the 200 foot required by state law. We hear this all the time. I hear this all the time in zoning cases that tend to be a little more controversial, create some, get some negativity. But the question always ends up being, how far is too far do you notify? Legislature has said 200 foot. That's what typically the vast majority of cities stick with, is the 200 foot.
Correct, but 99 was not there at that moment. And so therefore, these residents, these single-family home residents, when we zoned that to the PD 99, when they were purchasing
No,
from...
they didn't PD 99 existed, they couldn't, what happened was PD 88 was, as Marcos pointed out, was adopted originally in 2006. Major change, and I know Mayor Lynn was on the council, I believe, at the time, was to change all of that office, primarily office and light industrial, but it's mostly office type zoning, to residential in PD 99. So PD 99 became the new zoning district.
Right.
So when these people moved in, they were moving into PD 99. What they, but it's still, kind of buyer beware. You need to know what's can go in around you. Again, I've been doing this a long time, and I always tell people, and I hear this all the time. I hear, a realtor said nothing is ever going to get built there. I hear that all the time from people who come in and all of a sudden something's getting built there.
Right, and those realtors were under NDAs. They were on non-disclosure with
Well,
builders.
regardless, it's also still typically, it's up to the buyer to determine what the surrounding zoning is and what's capable of being constructed on a piece of property. That's typically, in the real estate industry, that's pretty standard. And sadly, unfortunately, the vast majority of private property owners don't do that. The number of real estate closings I've done over the years, I can just tell you, people don't check what goes in around them. People don't check their title policies to know what their restrictions are. They don't read their restricted covenants that are handed to them at the closing to know what their HOA is going to require of them. Unfortunately, that's just, that's kind of the nature of us buying homes as a country. And so, but back to, but in defense of the staff, they complied with what the ordinance requires them to comply with. And, and I have advised them, failing to do anything other than that, short of a change in the zoning ordinance that provides for a broader notice, puts the staff in a position, like I said, of picking and choosing what cases they do that on and what cases they don't. And can put the staff in the city in a position of possibly treating either applicants or homeowners or adjacent property owners unfairly because they're in that position of picking and choosing. So while I appreciate your comment and kind of taking the staff side a little bit, they're really kind of restricted to what they did. And I did review that with staff. We reviewed the plats, the adjacent plats, just to make sure that they had complied with. Because frankly, I would have found that they had, that we needed that one additional notice. I would have advised we need to start the process over again, make sure that additional notice went out, and we'd continue on the process. I've done that numerous times before. Marcus knows this because he's
Absolutely.
had me
Absolutely,
do it too
absolutely,
before.
yes.
So, in another city, and so. They were really kind of hamstrung on that notification issue because of the way the ordinance reads.
All right, thank you.
Councilman Jackson?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Marcos.
Yes, sir.
So I want to make sure I got the history right. So can we go back to 2006?
Yes, sir.
So in 2006, it was PD 88. This entire area was PD 88.
Yes,
right?
sir.
Multifamily, commercial, retail use. And then in 2015, there was an SUP for a hotel for that one particular area that we're talking about tonight, right?
Yes, sir.
And then in 2018, it was a different hotel layout.
They made changes to the hotel that they had already approved. They made some elevation and site changes.
Okay.
To the entire site plan, actually. So it included the multifamily unit that was to the north also as well. They did it all in one merged area, even though it's two lots. It's lot one and lot two. They did it all at one time and put it into PD 88. Yes, sir.
But suffice it to say, since 2006, this area has been zoned for this type of
yes, sir.
Of property. And then 2017, as we mentioned, the area around that became PD 99, and we got single-family residential homes.
Yes, sir.
And then tonight, we're looking to change it from hotel to multifamily.
Yes, sir.
You mentioned you mentioned a slip road and that having an issue, you guys had an issue with a slip road. Explain what a slip road is and what the issue there was.
Yes, sir. So normally, with this particular plan development, it had always been envisioned that running along Luna Road going from Valley View Lane all the way down to 635, the cross-section that was approved for that entire stretch included what was called a slip road. So you have your main lanes of traffic, and then you would have what I consider like a small parkway area with trees. And then outside of that, there'd be an additional road that would allow you access to all the businesses. Because again, keep in mind, this area was planned for commerce. It was planned for residential. It was high-density residential, but it was also planned for any type of commercial use also as well. And so these slip roads would give you access to what they consider like on-street parking, essentially. That would be right off of those slip roads.
Separated from
the
major
main lanes of traffic,
with
yes, sir.
trees or green and such.
Yes, sir. And the cross-section also included wider sidewalks also as well. So they were from 8 to 10 feet wide because they wanted to see more pedestrians in this particular area also as well. So when PD 99 happened, not a lot of things had been developed along Luna Road, but when PD 99 came in, they changed a lot of the area to more single family. Except for this one section that wasn't a part of PD 99, which also was adjacent to Luna Road. Everything else got developed with single-family homes, but without a slip street. So there are no slip streets along Luna Road.
So a slip street would have effectively created more buffer between the major lanes of the road and whatever was built on the other side of a brick
Yes, sir.
wall or an apartment or.
Yes, sir. And all the buildings are usually pushed up pretty close to the road also as well. So you would have very similar to and I'm not sure if anybody can recall, but the last apartment complex that we did actually approve, which this might show you, they did kind of an offset of a slip road, but the apartment complex that's to the north, you see that street that runs along outside of Luna Road, it's adjacent to it. There's also on-street parking in that location also as well, and because there's businesses below the apartment complex. So again, the PD allows for commerce on bottom or residential on bottom and residential above, no commerce above. So it's either you have retail on bottom with residential on top, or you have it all residential. So in this particular case, they did I wouldn't call it a slip road, it's just more of like an extended driveway. Because when you think of slip road should continue through all the way through. As a thoroughfare, exactly.
But this is going to be more like on-street parking, and the property to the north is first floor retail, second, how many floors is that building?
4 floor, I believe there's 4 floors above that.
Okay, so
Yes,
total
sir.
5.
Total 5, yes, sir.
Floors above that. That's the property that's under development now.
Yes, sir.
The property that we're looking at tonight will be 2 parking garage floors plus 5, so we've got 7 floors.
Yes, sir. Yeah, 2 parking garage plus, for a total of 7, yes, sir.
For a total of 7.
Yes, sir. Yes,
But
sir.
it sits further away from the PD 99 single-family.
Correct. I guess I could have showed you this. This right here is a cross-section of that slip road.
Okay.
This is what was actually shown in the plan development, and you can see where the slip roads sit, the on-street parking, the main lanes, and the foot traffic that's off to the side.
Okay.
I think a good representation of this might be what you were just speaking about. This might show a good representation of the multifamily that's to the north.
Right.
Which it looks like it does have 1, 2, 3. It should actually, it's 4-story or 5 stories.
So it's a total of 5 stories.
Total of 5 stories. This one will be a total of 7, but 5 residential, 2 podium below.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. So the 7-story building is a little bit further removed from the single-family residence. The 5-story building is under construction now.
Yes, sir.
That property's not in question. So why did P&Z in a 4-3 vote, not recommend
Yes.
this request?
So when they recommended the denial, it was based on, and this is how it was worded, but it was worded in a way of saying that they wanted to see more residents be notified, and that was why they denied it.
Okay.
But
We
you know,
just heard from the city attorney why we really shouldn't
Right.
go beyond our
Correct.
ordinance or the statute.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Right. I mean, I wish I could go back in time and for that first property, be creative, make some suggestions about screening and something, more in the interests of the homeowners that now have invested their, dollars in these properties that now back up to, these buildings. But that ship has sailed, right? There's no turning back there. This property is even further removed. Sounds inappropriate to think of something like that at this juncture as well, but I mean, I'm just wondering if there's some kind of idea or, something that the property owner might offer. Can't really screen a 7-story building up close to the building on their property line, so this would probably involve something much further away from their property, but it doesn't seem fair to have them do something special that the other property didn't do. But I certainly feel the homeowners, albeit their responsibility to understand the zoning and the plans for the property before purchasing, I feel their concern.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. That's all for now, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilman Merritt.
Marcos, thank you for the presentation. A lot to unpack, obviously. Could we, Councilmember Jackson asked about the denial at 4-3 from Planning and Zoning. I'd like to go back and inquire, was there discussion there, and I know there was, related to traffic studies? Could you opine on the traffic impact versus the hotel versus what we have going on now, and how that discussion wrapped up in P&Z for those who didn't, like many of us up here, watch the Planning and Zoning meeting?
Understood. Yeah, so because we were also thinking of it from a traffic impact analysis also as well. And of course, as we all know, all of these cases go through our DRC, our Development Review Committee. And so we worked with our Public Works Department. Every single case has to fill out an application, and the application states whether a TIA is required or not required. And in this particular case, a TIA was not required only because an analysis had already been done prior to with the hotel. And between the hotel and the multifamily, it was determined that the traffic impacts were going to be very similar as far as any type of improvements that were going to be needed. The road is already 6 lanes. There wasn't going to be a need for any type of decel lane or turn lane. There's actually a turn lane already being installed due to the apartment complex that was to the north. So that decision was made that impacts or traffic impact analysis was not going to be required for this particular request. But we did have the applicant still do some traffic counts and some traffic studies to present that information to the Planning and Zoning Commission. And they are here today, so they can still present that information to the council as well.
So on that, the developer actually did some accommodations based on the November meeting into the December meeting of Planning and Zoning on this particular issue. Can you address in this session what those accommodations by the developer were with the concerns of balconies, et cetera?
Right. Yeah. So what they did do is they did remove the balconies on the backside. Only issue is that when P&Z denied when they made their denial, that elevation wasn't put into y'all's docket as far as like the item that you have right now, the elevations that you have do still contain those balconies in back only because the denial occurred. But they are very open to removing any of those balconies on the backside with no issue. So if that is something that,
Thank you for the clarification on what
Absolutely.
we received in our materials versus what was discussed and obviously denied in planning and zoning in December. Could you tell us a little bit about the history of the ownership of this particular property? In 2015, is the applicant the owner of this property, or is this transaction, has there been a transaction on this property since that particular time?
yeah, I think that would be good for the applicant
Very
to
good.
address that,
We
for
can-
sure.
We can do that. And perhaps, I know the architect is here as well. Building heights, I'd like to understand between what we're calling Phase 1, the northern building, versus this particular property on the southern, what the height differential is on those.
Yeah, I believe the height for the initial building that's to the north, I want to say we ended up at about 60 feet in height.
62 feet.
Does that sound right? I think that's 60 feet. And again, it's probably best to, I can have the applicant come up and address the height differential
fine.
between the two as well.
That's fine. Let's see. And then, obviously, one more question, most likely directed to the property owner related to the hotel climate and the business model, obviously changing since 2016, 2015, 2017, when they remodeled
Yeah, right.
their SUP for that. So I have questions in that space. So I'd entertain at the mayor's direction to have the applicant come forward.
Marcus, is the applicant here
Yes,
and/or
sir.
the owner? If you would please state your name and address.
Change the slides, you can change it.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Name is Logan Schmidt, here on behalf of Rohr's Companies. Our address is 2 Carlson Parkway, Plymouth, Minnesota, 55446.
Said Logan?
Yep, Logan. To address a few of the questions, maybe starting with the height. Phase 1 is, 5 stories. There's actually an interior parking garage in that one as well, but I believe the height of that one is like 65 feet. Talking to the architect, I think this Phase 2 is around 80 to 84, and it's still under kind of what the guided zoning was for the hotel, but it is a little bit higher, those 2 stories above what is on Phase 1. And to give a little clarity on kind of the status of the ownership, Rohr's Companies owns the first phase, which is under construction. That went through the process, a lot of back and forth with staff on the design, and that, is being developed and being constructed right now. And really the thought on this Phase 2 was to create a cohesive development, but give it some of its own unique attributes. So it's, more of a sister if you listen to planning and zoning meeting. So give it some of its own unique characteristics, but still, deliver a nice, high-quality project. And we have a contract to purchase that site. And the existing owner who, did the initial zoning back in 2015 is here and can give some clarity on the kind of history of the site. But what I've been told is, with the hotel climate and kind of what's transpired since then is a lot of the, national users that you would like to go in there have found different spots around 635, the Marriotts, the Hiltons of the world. And this has kind of gotten bypassed by those groups. So the likely users for what would actually go in there is maybe not as a desirable tenant as, maybe let's say an apartment complex where, even though it's not a homeowner per se, it's, it's somebody who's renting here. It's somebody who is going to take ownership in that unit and is going to, be a familiar stranger, if you will. And on the traffic, touching on that, talking with our civil engineer, who is here as well. There will be an increase from the trips that would be generated under that 120-room hotel versus, this 145-unit complex. And I think it was around 800 is what for daily trips generated for the hotel, and it was around 1,000 for what might be projected on this apartment building. But with that threshold for Luna Road, it was less than a 5% impact to the capacity for that road. So it did not warrant additional traffic studies. So that is the information we prepared in that traffic study.
All right. Logan, thank you. You answered the questions that I had. Thank you. Mayor, I'll turn it back.
Thank you. I have a couple of questions or observations, and so I just want to make sure that I have correct in understanding. Phase 1, which on the graphic that is showing right now, which would be, let's call it the black building, that is under construction.
That's right.
Yes. In Phase 2, I'll call it the white building, is what is being proposed.
That's correct.
Yes. Are these two properties owned by the same investor or ownership group?
So they would be different like LLCs that would own, but it would be the same underlying ownership group. So it'd be Rohr's companies.
It boils down to the same owner.
That's right.
Okay. So here is my position. I'm not against this proposed development. What I am against is what has already happened, that partly our fault, partly planning and zoning's fault, partly neighbors' fault, but there is no divider between Phase 1 and Phase 2 and the single-family homes that are just to the west of Phase 1. Now, I told somebody in the real estate workings of this thing early on, and Mr. McConney, does that name ring a bell?
That's the existing property owner.
Is he still involved?
Yeah, he still owns the site.
Okay.
The site, yeah.
There needed to be a barrier, trees, big trees, between Phase 1 and Phase 2. Phase 1 and the single-family homes to the west. My job, I believe, is to sit here and protect the rights of single-family homeowners who are truly invested in this city, that are going to be here for a long time. To have apartment buildings, office buildings, whatever, looking down into the backyards of those single-family homes, those people have lost all privacy. And I don't believe that's right. Now, the real estate person I spoke with, and I believe he was with Weitzman, I don't have my notes here in front of me to recall. I had that conversation with him. I said, you need to plant a row of trees, dense, big trees on that western property boundary. Okay? So that encompasses more of Phase 1, looking at this drawing. But now seeing Phase 2, I would almost insist that that row of trees come around the curve, following the water, following the little drive that's there, and come around to at least the end point, if not all the way down to the southern end of the Phase 2 property. That's 7 stories is going to look in to a single-family home, no matter what you do. And I just don't believe that is right to do that to those homes. Now, homeowners themselves can take some action because some of those yards there are a little sizable. They can plant some of their own trees, but I don't know where my request stands with your organization, with Weitzman, with Mr. McConney, whatnot. I'm not here to, I don't vote, but I'm not here to advocate for not doing this project. But I want it done the right way. That's my opinion. And I'm going to be very adamant about holding to that and wanting a commitment from you, your company, the owner, the highest level, that you all will work to try to accommodate that. I don't know if anything needs to be done between the two properties. I don't know how close they are because none of the schematics that you submitted showed that distance between the north and south buildings. I don't know how much space, but I'll let you all worry about that since that's essentially your developments. So tell me what can be done in regards to planting large trees that will help shelter or screen the homes to the west. And if you're not prepared to answer that tonight, then I'm happy to have you come back another time and we'll take this matter up again at a later date. But I know time is money for you.
Mayor, may I add to that before you answer
Yes,
your question? Thank you. So I was alluding to that earlier, and my mistake for assuming that there were two different owners of these properties. I didn't realize it was the same ownership. And so in the spirit of what I was getting to earlier in trying to buffer privacy for the homeowners from all of these residents in the multifamily, in addition to or somehow partner with the mayor's idea is, some allotment for the homeowners to plant their own trees and their own screening in their own backyards. I wouldn't necessarily advocate for the developer to do that work because now you have somebody else doing work on somebody else's property and that could get sideways. But to provide the homeowners with some type of a means for creating their own screening in their backyards. Because I'm just thinking logically, the best screening is going to be huge trees in these backyards to give the most screening and privacy, from 5 stories, 7 stories up, in my mind. I'm not a landscaper, I'm not a developer, but that's just the idea that was in my mind earlier, talking about trying to provide some level of privacy for these homeowners. Thank you.
Do you have any thoughts on any of this?
Yeah, so I guess just to clarify again, so currently the phase 1, the black building as we're calling it, that's owned, by Rohr's companies. Currently the white building south portion is not owned by Rohr's companies, but we are the applicant. So we haven't bought the land yet. So I just wanted to clarify that there are still 2 different owners right now at this point in time. But if this were to be approved and we go on with construction at that point, there would be, common ownership between the 2 parcels.
Okay.
But talking about the landscaping proposal, it's definitely something we would need to look into. Just with the fire lane widths that's required and with the Valwood easement there, they have some pretty strict requirements for what can actually be built in that. So we would have to go back and see, what would be allowed to be, planted there potentially along that easement. It might be at our risk, but, see if that's something we could be able to do. I think that's something we would look into, along kind of the phase 2 boundary there. But I can't commit to anything on that point right now without having additional information from that group.
Well, I guess it'll be up to council to decide whether they want to proceed based on that or not, and whether I'll say my request is reasonable enough. But having talked to some homeowners over there, I believe what I'm stating is reasonable. While they were out of the 200-foot notification area or specification, that doesn't negate the fact that they're there. They're your neighbors. And I agree with our attorney 100%. It was up to these people to have an idea and do their homework ahead of time when they bought these homes or before they bought these homes as to what might be permissible to go in there. No questions, qualms about that. But it should have been on the radar of planning and zoning when they gave the approval, to know and understand what was abutting the property and how are we going to preserve the value of those homes. And that's on us, better education of our planning and zoning group and our council members. And I think that we're working on that. I can assure you, as we have more development in the city, and especially multifamily or office that is close to or abutting single-family neighborhood, we'll be paying more attention to that moving forward. At least I will, and I hope others do also. I'd really like to have some kind of assurance, some peace of mind, knowing that we did the right thing for both parties. Both parties. And have some type of tree screening, tall tree screening that will give some protection to those homes. But I also think it needs to come down not only from the north property, but also to the south property. And I'll just end my comments there.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Councilman.
So you talked about the parking. Will you remind me how much parking currently exists in the plan?
Let's see here. Is that the wrong way? It's at the, oh, shoot. Yeah.
Yeah, it's okay. It's no problem. I think that
Right there. Okay. So the current plan has plans for 181 spaces, which is over the minimum required. And the one thing I would add to that, I know, when we met with the community, I think it was last March, this was one of the hot topics that was brought up. And with us kind of having the ownership of that first building, that one has an overage of parking available with the retail uses that could potentially be utilized if we find that there's a parking problem here with this being underparked, even though it is over the minimum. So that is one thing that we would have the flexibility to do that maybe somebody else wouldn't.
Okay, I think that you touched on something that I think is very important that probably most people don't know about, because it happened prior to you guys even applying for what is required to get to this point. And I think going back to, maybe a year and a half ago, I got a phone call from the property owner, Mr. McConney, and wanted to sit down to kind of gain some insight from me and on what I'm hearing people might want for this specific development, which, initially there was discussions about maybe a bar or retail or an event center and, those types of things, particularly the event center created some heartburn for our planning staff because we've had bad experiences with event centers on the east side of town. And so we ended up having a meeting with residents out in the amenity center to talk about this. And I know we've talked about notification quite a bit and about the 200-foot mark or whatever it was. But Tina and I walked with these flyers to invite people to learn about what might be proposed before anything ever got submitted to the city. And we knocked on people's doors, waited for them to answer, and hand-delivered an invitation. And we went all the way up Royal Oaks. We went across the street and hit up all those homes there too. And anything that we could see that might be, somebody might care about or might be affected by it. And so there was a good group of residents there, and they had a list of, you know, if this is the type of development that might be coming, here's sort of a list of the concerns, which you've referenced, and it sounds like you guys have taken those concerns and notated them and found a way to be able to alleviate and address them. And I think as long as those were addressed, it sounded like there were no other issues, which I think probably explains why we've received 1, 2, I think 3 people at some point, all being the same people, complain about this and not a significant number, because a significant number of people do know about this project. So I thought it was important to highlight the effort that the property owner went through, because it's not common for a developer or a landowner to preliminarily reach out to the community and say, I want to be a good neighbor, and here's some ideas I have. Usually they just move forward and deal with the residents afterwards. It's not a very proactive approach, it's a very reactive approach. So I'm happy with this. I mean, if we need to talk about trees and shielding them, you know, putting them there, I guess the only question I would have is what height requirement? Is there a certain type of tree? Because I don't know, other than in California, there being trees that are that high that can cover up 7 stories or 5 stories.
Thank you, Umar. Really appreciate it. My name is Ali Makhani. I'm a developer and I'm the owner of the property, Ali Makhani. I think I like the idea of Richard because right now it's too late to put all the trees and fencing, but whatever the houses is coming on that radar, maybe I will pay for it, for their trees, for scanning to get their, whatever they have a concern on it. So I will be paying for whatever the trees they want to put in there. So if they have any problem for, you know, because see, the project is already too far away right now. And putting all the way around, I think it's better to just, Richard idea, I will pay for whatever the trees they want it there to get their privacy or screening or whatever.
So you're willing to pay for the trees that the homeowners want to put in?
Yes.
Not to put any trees on, or any additional trees on your western boundary?
So whatever we can, we will put, whatever we can. But whatever they need it in their backyard, the trees to protect for privacy issue, we will pay for it, what I'm saying. That way it's going to both issues is going to be solved that way.
Can you explain, is there an urgency to, I know that there was a delay before. Is there some urgency that we might need to be aware of, or would it create any issues if this item were tabled and delayed for a later discussion?
It's, you know, if it warranted more discussion, you know, I think that'd be something we'd be open to. I think just circling back, you know, looking at, you know, a way we could provide more trees on that buffer, you know, on the perimeter there. Yeah, it's something we would commit to look into and seeing what we could get done there. But we would just have to figure out, you know, what's allowable there by the, you know, by the powers that be. And, you know, there's not necessarily a pressing deadline. It's just, you know, wanting to get this thing going and you know, get a good project going. But open to that.
Councilman Mayer?
Mayor, were there any citizen requests to speak on this particular item?
Yes, this is a public hearing, and I don't have anybody signed up to speak. If you would like to speak, please fill out a speaker form that's in the back of the room, bring it up to the front here, and I will be glad to allow you to comment. The speaker forms are... You did online?
Yeah, but I was basically
Mayor, we just received one by email. It just came in a little bit ago.
Okay. So, yes, sir.
Mayor, I have a question for Marcos before I'm glad to know we have speakers.
Okay.
Marcos, could you help me understand the heights of the Park West parking garage and the Park West office towers?
We can get that for you.
Thank you. If I remember correctly, the buildings are 9 stories. Is that correct?
That sounds about right.
Okay.
And I thought I might have something that shows. It's the buildings, right, that you see here on this side, correct?
Correct.
Let me get you clarification on that.
That's fine. Thank you.
Absolutely.
And I think that visual you have there also shows the line of trees that aids to some degree the lines of sight from both directions.
Yes, sir.
Anyway, thank you very much. Appreciate that extra information.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
I mean, I can appreciate that perspective. There are taller buildings there, but the difference is you have an office building with people during the day. In all likelihood, the residents are away at work during the day. And at night, the office buildings are empty and the residents are home. Or on the weekends, they're at home using their backyards. And so there's not as much, in my mind, as an invasion of privacy from the office buildings just because of the nature of the use of those two different properties. Mr. McConney, I really appreciate your workable thinking with trying to assist the homeowners with some shading in their backyards. I would suggest that, go back one slide, Marcos, if you don't mind.
Yes, sir.
That big backyard, I mean, we could be talking a few thousands of dollars to put the right size trees in that yard to provide the right type of shielding, but still that would probably be far less costly and more effective than trying to line your property boundary full of trees as well. It's just the thought, so anyways.
Thank you, Councilman. Okay.
I was just
I'm sorry,
going
go
to mention
ahead.
to Councilman Merritt, 7 stories and 4-story parking garage. Yes, sir.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt there.
Oh, no, it's okay.
This is a public hearing. Right now, I only have 2 people that have signed up to speak, and the first one will be Jason Ennis. So please state your name and address.
Hi, Jason Ennis, Richard. 12523 Royal Oaks Lane, Farmers Branch. Frankly, I'm tired of hearing me talk at these public meetings about this, but happy to be speaking with you all today and in light of what Mr. McConney has offered over the last several minutes. My attitude has changed somewhat, but I do still want to register my disapproval with the change in theory. I agree with the statement of the city attorney and of everybody that the homeowners need to have done their due diligence and found out what was going to be built next to them when they bought, before they signed the contract. I did that. It wasn't a fun Saturday. It wasn't easy to find on the Farmers Branch website, but I'm a real estate attorney. You know, my wife would probably be divorcing me if she didn't know about this. So I bought in expectation of, okay, yes, there's some apartments, but okay, there's a hotel too. We're not surrounded. So this thought of throwing out the zoning that's been in place before we bought was troubling to us, especially because I heard no justification other than somebody wants to do it. What was the benefit to the city of throwing out zoning that people had, again, given up a Saturday and done some research on, and making that change? What was the benefit to the city? My primary concern, other than privacy and screening is the traffic that this is going to bring to the racetrack that is Mercer Parkway. We use that regularly. I know we talked about Luna. I don't care about Luna. That can handle traffic, but this is going to be bringing more people off of the Bush, straight down Mercer Parkway and into their apartments. So I'll just leave it at that. Mr. McConaughey's offer, I don't want to let the perfect and what I bought in it, I know things change, so I don't want to let the perfect be the enemy of the good. So thank you.
Thank you. Next up, Grabaran?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I don't want to mispronounce your name. Okay, I'm going to let you say your last name.
Yeah. Hey, my name is Gurubaran Ramalingam.
Okay.
I live at 12519 Royal Oaks Line, just to be on context. Do you have that other one? Yeah, this is the one. So do you see the property which has the vehicle parked in the driveway? That's my property. So he has a concern for the south side. I have a concern for the north side. I did some research before buying it, my property, and okay, apartments, I wasn't really concerned. But when I came to this meeting, I was little not really hopeful, but you perfectly spoke my mind. You were like to the 100%, every line you spoke my mind, and you really addressed the concern I had, which is a privacy. And I bought that land. I have kids planning for a swimming pool, whatever it is. Now it's people looking down my backyard. No privacy. Anyway. The point is like I have two issues to discuss now. I don't want to be a venting session, so I just have 2 points to make. One is privacy, which is like, can that wall which is adjacent to the alley be made taller? The reason I'm asking that is because if I stand from my patio, the vehicles going on the Luna Road, they can just see me half until here. That's the height the Luna Road and my patio is. So with the property coming up on that lot, anybody standing on that property can really look into my patio itself, not just my roof. They can look into my patio if it is the same elevation as the Luna Road. So my primary request is like raise the wall, so like nobody can, who's walking on that parking space or whatever there, they can look into my patio directly. That is my main concern, which will actually help me many things, privacy, plus I also look it as a safety issue for me personally. And because it's just 6 feet wall and then 6 feet fence I have. And personally, I'm planning to increase my fence to 8 feet once the apartment is built. After getting proper approvals, I'm going to do that. After getting obviously the proper approvals from HOA and council people and all those folks. So that's my main concern. If that could be accommodated, I don't want the money to plant trees, because planting trees in the backyard will negate my purpose of building a swimming pool or some playground for my kids. So I don't want trees in my backyard. So the wall would help me with privacy and safety. That is one. Second thing is the construction is going on, yes, and luckily there is no dust issues as of now. Maybe it's because of the winter or the rain things. That's not my issue, because I've been in construction zones. I have issues, no issues with construction, with dust and everything. But last 2 weeks, I work from home. My wife worked from home. So I was working, and then there was a shake, like an earthquake in my office room, which is like in the opposite side of the construction zone, like in the front of the home. I didn't know what it was. My wife didn't know what it was. So I just ran to the backyard and saw like they were using the big machineries to pound the ground just behind that wall. So whenever they pound the ground with that big machinery, there's a shake of the whole building, the whole house actually. I don't know whether my neighbor sensed it or even Jason sensed it, but there was a shake. So we noticed it, and it was just once, and then I thought, okay, maybe something once it happened, but it happened even yesterday. So they are working on that along that wall, and they are pounding the whole ground, and it shakes the whole building. The whole building, like it's, I can feel it shaking. Like I am in the front, my wife is sitting in the top floor, she's also working, and once I was sitting in my patio, it shook the whole building. So my plan was to install a camera to capture it, and then share it here. But before I could do that, I'm in this meeting now. So I'm going to install a camera to capture that, not to kind of as a proof or to kind of for a legal issues, just to present it, like, because people would not understand, they would not believe, like when I say the whole building is shaking, right? So just to present that, not to showcase anybody in bad light, because construction do happen. So my request is not to do that, because I have kids in my home, I can see some cracks. Hopefully that's not because of this ponding, and hopefully they don't do any damages to my home. Already I spent almost 30K, 40K more as additional money for that lot, the big lot, which I don't know how I can use it after this apartment, but at least I want the home to be safe. So two things, the wall and then this ponding or the way they do constructions. I'm not a construction guy. If they could change it, it will be helpful for me. Right now I just have these two things to concerns as a concern, but obviously I have the other concern too, but he spoke really well about that. But thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Tina. You both really brought up my concerns actually, so thanks a lot.
Thank you. Once again, this is a public hearing. I don't have anybody else signed up to speak to it, so I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Mayor, I move to close to public hearing.
I'll second that.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. All in favor of closing the public hearing?
Mayor, I'd like to change that.
Oh.
I'd like to do a conditional approval on this
Well, we're,
with the trees.
no, just the public hearing part. So all in favor of closing the public hearing? Okay, we're not approving, we're just closing the public hearing. Yeah, we're not approving this ordinance.
Like we're taking.
But here, let's have a show of hands. Okay, show of hands.
It's just recording a vote.
Okay. Show of hands, all in favor of closing the public hearing? Okay. Motion passes. Okay, we can still have discussion here. Mr. McConaughey, thank you. Thank you for your generous offer to fund trees if they're so desired on those residents, so we'll work with that. Let me ask you regarding the concern over the height of the wall. You have a 6-foot, Marcos is a 6-foot wall right now?
Yes, sir. It's a 6-foot masonry wall. on the
Okay, that's
backside.
what I thought. So I guess, Mr. Schmidt, would it be reasonable or within reason to raise the height of that wall to 8 foot? Is that doable as part of your plan?
And that would be for phase one?
I'm assuming that's what, yeah, phase one. That hasn't been built yet, I don't believe.
No, it hasn't. But just with, I'm not sure if that's something I can commit to tonight, but it's something we can look into.
Okay. Go ahead.
So I just want to clarify, the wall, Marcos, the wall we saw in the picture, that wall's not there yet?
That wall's actually there.
Okay.
The
Can you go
6-foot
back to-
wall?
Is it on phase one been built?
On phase one, that was actually built with when the homes were
So
constructed.
that's a homeowners association wall, not
Yes.
the
That is correct.
apartment building.
When the site plan was approved for that apartment complex, vegetation was approved on that, along that wall. But the vegetation is made up of hollies and it's not trees. It's basically like these really large bushes. I think 6-foot tall bushes is what they're required to install along that wall. But that wall does exist, and that wall was put in with the single-family homes on the other side of that alleyway. Yes.
Okay. Well, council members, you all have more discussion regarding the screening, I'll call it that, associated with this, which is, I'll say, not directly related to Phase 2, but probably involves more Phase 1 than Phase 2. So that's for you all to discuss.
Marcos, can you go back to that picture? Sure. That gives us a better idea of that wall, because that's not part of our packet.
Let's see. You might be able to see a little bit of that wall hovering over these pictures here.
Right.
You can see on this side also. Let me see if I can find a better image. Here's a good image also of that wall that exists on the, oh wait, nope, sorry, not that side. Let me see if I can find another one here. Yeah, the best I'll probably be able to show you is what's shown on these images here. But it is a 6-foot tall wall.
So it's 6 feet tall. It looks to me like, if these proportions or elevations are correct, if I'm looking at this picture on the left, on the other side of that wall, there's an embankment that actually goes up to the first floor of that 5-story building. Is that right? If I look at the far left side of that picture, right there, just to the left of your cursor, on the other side of that wall, does that embankment then go up to the ground level elevation of that building?
You know,
So if I'm
that is
walking-
a good question on, as far as the property is concerned. I'm not sure if that actually raises or if that's,
Yeah, if I'm walking on the sidewalk next to that building, am I just looking right over that wall? Is that wall down? It is, okay,
yes.
Even from the Luna Road, you can just look inside back.
okay.
That's the very situation.
So would it be unreasonable to have taller bush screening on the Phase 1 development side that would provide more privacy between those people walking on the sidewalks and seeing into the backyards, the backs of those homes?
That's always possible. It's off-site, you know, because it's on the property to the north.
I don't
But
know whose property that is. Is it the development, or is it the HOA, or?
it belongs to Roars. The folks that are, you know, taking this through the process right now. I believe y'all own Lot 1. The lot that y'all are trying to do right now, you still own that lot at this two. Lot 2, he owns. So technically, this is where things get a little complicated, because they would be improvements on property that
Yeah, it's
were.
a property that's not part of the zoning case.
Right.
That's part of the problem. with
It's
that.
like an
Gotcha.
off-site. It would be considered off-site for these improvements.
Okay, understood.
Yes,
That's
sir.
Phase 1. We're dealing with Phase 2 tonight.
Yes, sir.
Understood. But the same owner is here tonight.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Mhm.
So would the same owner agree to doing some taller bushes like red tip photinias or something that provides really large screening along that wall? It's not conditional on
Right.
approving what's in front of us on 3838. It's just a question.
If they agreed to it, they would just need to revise their landscape plan with planning, and that's really it.
Maybe some magnolias, because they stay green year-round, and that would provide the blockage year-round.
Okay.
If they were to agree to it.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Marcus, for clarification, when you say revise the landscape plan, which landscape plan you talk about?
It would be the Phase 1.
But we
I hate
can't.
to ask, because this has been bothering me while we've been sitting here in this discussion. Is there any way to access that landscape plan for Phase 1?
Right now?
Right now, so we can see what's on it?
We can do that.
I think that would be helpful for the council to see what's on it already with respect to any, landscaping that's on that.
Absolutely. We can place it into the podium PC.
Okay. So as part of this, to bring sort of this to close, 3838, the owner has agreed to work with the homeowners for those that want screening or trees in their backyard. we'll get an updated landscape plan from the owners on Phase 1 to potentially provide additional greenery along the brick wall, on the east side of the brick wall, that full spans there to provide better screening for those homeowners.
Council, let me just take a moment. I want to step back just a second. It's probably more my fault than anything else for mixing Phase 1 and Phase 2. We are here to talk about Phase 2 tonight, and so I want to be very clear about that. Hopefully, we can have an open-door discussion outside of this meeting to discuss Phase 1, okay, and what might go along that western boundary, and if you would be open to doing that. I sense that you would, but again, we're only here to talk about Phase 2. So we really need to come back, and if there's any more questions, comments, concern as relates to Phase 2 approval, now would be the time to have that discussion. Okay. Seeing none. This item is marked for action, so I would entertain a motion.
Mayor, I motion to have conditional approval for, where are we at? Sorry about that. Ordinance number 3838 as presented with the condition of some landscape changes.
To be able to, we need to know what those are to be able to enforce the motion, because otherwise we have no idea, staff,
Trees.
what changes to make.
What do we want to call them? Trees.
Well,
Then
that's not enough, I'm sorry to say, as far as the level of detail. It creates a discretionary situation for staff trying to guess what you want. We probably need to take a look at the proposed landscape plan with respect to this site plan. Let's see a little more about what we're talking about.
We can do that.
Marcos?
Yes, sir.
Would it be reasonable if you had an opportunity to have dialogue with interested council members and bring this back at the next meeting so it could be approved in February? Would it be able to take action that quickly? The first meeting in February, which is?
Yeah, we wouldn't need to re-notify in a case like this if it's just.
Is that going to create an undue hardship for the applicant?
Mayor.
I'm sorry, make sure he's clear. It will
Yeah.
cause undue hardship if we bring this back on February 6th?
Yes, kind of a time right now. We are supposed to be closing.
Okay.
In 2 days, so.
Understood.
So
Okay, I just want to make sure.
I can commit it to the trees which are, put on the site.
One moment, please. All right. That's
Okay. Mayor,
Okay. Okay. I think we have a solution.
yeah.
Okay.
So Mayor, I appreciate the owner's willingness to work with neighbors in good faith. I expect that that will be fulfilled to the residents' satisfaction. So at this time, I think that it makes sense to make a motion to approve ordinance 3838 as presented.
Thank you. We have a motion. Is there a second?
I will go ahead and second that, Mayor. I think their accommodations by the owners and the prospective owners have been graciously offered, so I will make a motion to second that.
Very good. Thank you. We have a motion and a second. If you would, please indicate accordingly your vote. Motion passes 3-2. Thank you very much. Will you set up a meeting with him? Will you set up a meeting with him? Okay, thank you. Councilman Roman was going to be reaching out to you to set up a meeting to have additional discussions, but phase 2 is approved. Thank you, sir. Thank you all for your patience.
Thank you. Thanks for the.
Did it just get dark in here? Darker? Did it just get darker in here? Or was it me?
I think they got brighter out there.
Oh, maybe I need to take another paint bill. Okay. All right. Next up is item J1. Consider approving resolution 2024-021, authorizing the city manager to execute a contract with Community Waste Disposal LLC for residential and municipal solid waste and recycling services and take appropriate action.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Y'all need a break? Y'all good? This will be, you've seen this presentation before. For those that haven't seen this before, we have a contract with CWD that expires in June, actually May 31st. What we're looking at is renewing a contract with them for garbage and recycling collection for residential homes and city facilities with a possible 3-year renewal. The way it's currently set up in our contract, which is a draft contract, hence it's negotiate and execute the way the resolution's worded. So twice-a-week garbage service for part of the city, once-a-week garbage service for basically the homes that are in PD 99-100, and then once-a-week recycling services for those who choose to participate for everybody across the city. And then also CWD provides bulk assistance during our bulk week, which is once a month. Then they handle the garbage cart and recycling cart procurement and distribution and maintenance. They also service all of our city facilities. Typically that's twice a week with a front loader. They do provide roll-off services on an as-needed basis. And then, of course, they provide recycling for all of our cities and then for special events as requested. Within the current contract, after the first year, there'll be a CPI adjustment based on fuel and CPI as far as the cost increase. You've seen this before. This is a comparison to other cities. I developed basically a weighted average, so taking how many homes had once-a-week service, how many had twice-a-week service, how many had recycling, plus bulk collection. That was kind of our weighted average for the service that CWD provides, and compared that to other cities in our area. The way our contract's structured currently is there'll be a 4% increase in the rates beginning June 1, and then another 4% increase on October 1. After that, the CPI and fuel adjustment takes place every year going forward. The current service set up based on what I knew at the time of this with the number of homes we had. So every time you had a home, the cost goes up, was 1.691. There's been a request to have the west side of the homes in PD 99-100 have twice-a-week service as similar to the rest of the homes across the city. So to complete our negotiation with CWD, I'm looking for direction from council to switch. Do you want to switch the garbage service to twice a week on those PDs or leave it as is? And so that'll be part of this discussion as well. There is a cost difference. If you look at those two numbers, you got 1.704,800 for the additional service compared to the 1,691,000. If you do the math, it's 10, 15,000 delta. So I budgeted for some of that, just not all of it. I had to make a guess at the time what I thought the price increase would be from CWD. So we're a little short in terms of what we budgeted this year. But we're talking about thousands of dollars, not millions, as the mayor, I think, was concerned earlier. So I'm looking for his recommendation to approve the resolution, which allows us to finish negotiating, but I do need direction from y'all whether or not to go to twice a week for the PDs 99 and 100. So whichever order y'all want to handle things, whatever questions you may have for me, I'm open to those. In addition, we have Greg Raymer and Jason Raymer here with CWD. So if you have very technical questions, I'll be calling on them. Or if you just want to speak to them as well, they're here for you to answer your questions. At this point in time, I'll turn it over to y'all for discussion.
Very good. Thank you, Shane. Council, do you all have any questions? Oh, Councilman Roman.
So just to clarify.
Yes, sir.
Mercer Crossing is made up of more than just PD 99 and 100. I
Got
think
it.
it's 78 and 87
Got
also, which includes residential areas. So I saw it on here again.
Got it.
And I just want to make sure that we're on the same page.
Earlier in the agenda, we had the ordinance change, which that's where it was mentioned in there, is PD 100 and 99 100. So that's been removed based on your consent agenda. So I kept it the way it was worded before in our ordinance. But yes, you are absolutely correct. Yes, sir.
Councilman Mayor?
Thank you, Shane, for the presentation, and you're right, we in the council have seen this presentation before. Just to reiterate, we have the adjustment of 4% occurring in June, and then adjustment again of another 4% occurring in October.
Correct.
But the following year, we will be on an October to October basis, is that correct?
Correct. We'll base it on a CPI, I believe, in May, if I remember the month correctly. So look at that. Because I got to have time to plan in the budget numbers. So we'll look at, I believe, in May for the number for CPI. So we'll compare that year-over-year change. And that'll be applied to that's how we'll calculate the cost adjustment each year.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Anybody?
How many from Mercer have we had asked for to twice a week? Because I had asked if we could get a survey out, so we just have an understanding of what their needs are.
Got it. I've just been aware of the council's request as far as what the desire was. We can do a survey after this, if you'd like, and bring you the results back. But I was basing it off of the conversations y'all have had before as far as the request to switch to twice a week.
I just want to make certain that it's not just twice a week that their needs are, that
Got
there's
it.
not something else that we need to assess and address that is bigger than just picking up trash twice a week for them, for the waste disposal. I know I've had complaints of the waste disposal on commercial properties being picked up at the crazy hours of the day as well.
Okay. Yeah, that's not per this contract because that would have been a discussion we'd had in the study session item if we'd had that tonight. Okay.
Any other discussion? So I just want to go on record saying thank you to CWD. I know we have representatives and the president of the company here this evening. I think y'all do a great job here in our city. I just want to say that publicly. And your crews are very friendly, very friendly. So we appreciate that. This item is marked for action. So I don't have anybody signed up to speak.
Just to clarify for the council, are we going to wait to discuss the frequency of trash pickup for a future date pending the results of the survey? Because CWD, that will take time to ramp up. It's not something we can just turn on. So just making sure, is that the direction of council at this point, is to pause?
Council, thoughts?
No, I say we move forward with this. We just need to understand what their full needs are.
Okay.
Got it. Okay.
Mayor, I move to approve resolution number 2024-021 as presented.
Thank you.
I second the motion.
We have a motion and a second. Thank you very much. If you would, please indicate your vote accordingly. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Thank you, CWD. Okay. Next up is item J2, consider adopting ordinance number 3847, amending the city's Code of Ordinances, Chapter 86, Utilities, that govern public sewers and the disposal of fats, oils, and grease, and take appropriate action.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council. It's been a while since we've done this. Welcome back after the long break. All right, we're here today to talk about fats, oils, and grease. There's been a lot of work put into this by Liz Arts, our health manager, and William Hines, our utility compliance coordinator. They've spent tireless amounts of hours researching and going through this process. So here we are with the final results, looking for council to help us pass an ordinance and protect our sanitary sewer system. The goal of this particular ordinance is to meet the TCEQ requirements, eliminate buildup in our sewer system of the fats, oils, and grease, and create, regulate, and enforce grease trap permits and inspections. Pretty picture of a sewer line that's loaded with some good stuff there. All right, quick overview here. Why? House Bill 1979. Law was in the 78th legislative session on September 1st, 2003, and it's also not a TCEQ requirement. Presently, Health Division here at the city currently does food inspections, and they monitor the grease trap cleaning. We currently do not have an ordinance to enforce anything as far as grease traps go. We are proposing to amend Chapter 86 of the Utilities section. We want to grant Public Works authority to regulate grease traps and allow Health to require and issue permits for grease traps. And when we're looking to implement this in the spring of 2024. Operational enforcement responsibilities. Business notification. We will perform emails to the food establishments. There will also be paper handouts during inspections. We are working with a contractor to perform those inspections. Fog permitting. We will develop workflow applications and fees in EnerGov. This will be done through Health, IT, and Public Works. We will also receive and process permits. This will be performed through the Customer Success Division and the Health Division. Routine inspections will be performed by a contractor, and city staff. Enforcement will be provided by city staff, which will be Health, Public Works, and City Attorney. We have a penalty structure built into Section 86. This is for the business or generator if found liable for grease trap overflow or mainline blockage. First violation would result in a $1,000 fine. Third violations would result in $1,500 penalties, and civil penalty for habitual or fourth violations within a 2-year period of $2,000. Continuous violations for those habitual violators would increase it by $500 per violation. And as we're moving into personal violators or individuals, we would be looking at a written warning for the first violation, and then the civil penalties would range from $100 to $2,000 for the second, third, and fourth violations within a 2-year period, and then $500 incremental increases after that. Fog adoption and implementation. As you all know, we've been going through this process for quite some time now. November 14th of 23, we had a study session discussion, received some council feedback. December 12th, we brought an ordinance for review by the council. We took that feedback back and we created this current ordinance that you received in your packets. We're now looking for approval of that ordinance. February of 24, we will start with the communication plan and implementation by Public Works and the Health Department. March of '24, we will be looking to start implementation of this program. Fees would follow in January of '25 as part of the new budget year. And for the communication plan, we would be looking at brochures and letters to the business owners. We would provide information on the website and take time during the food inspections to share information on upcoming regulations. Quick and easy, discussions and questions.
Council, does anybody have any questions regarding this presentation?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Ryan. So we've not had the ability to enforce the TCEQ requirements under the FOG
Correct.
requirements before.
Yes.
Now we're just trying to develop that ability to enforce it, and we're doing that with fines and such.
Right.
Okay. And the communication plan to business owners, let me go back to that here. I might suggest, in addition to the brochures and letters and such, since Jeff does such a great job with videos, or you guys do something, maybe we do a video or something and do a link to that video for business owners as well, just so that we can make it crystal clear what the requirements are. I mean, I absolutely am supportive of this, of course, because given our aging infrastructure, it doesn't do us any good if we can't enforce, these sewer issues to try and handle our sewer issues, in a cost-effective manner over time.
Yes, sir.
This would help that, I would think.
Yes, sir. Because fats, oils, and greases contribute to our total suspended solids that we send downstream to TRA.
Right.
And that incurs additional cost for sewer treatment.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So the only thing I would suggest is just adding a video to your communication strategy.
Excellent suggestion.
Thank you.
I just want to make sure I understand. Are we asking Jeff to do live broadcast from down the sewer? I'm sure he appreciates that.
I like that plan. You're the guy, Jeff.
Hey, just trying to lighten it up a little bit. Okay.
I've got the perfect line for it, too. We're good.
Oh, goodness. Councilman Merritt?
Brian, thank you again for the presentation. Just to add on, did I read that we're going to create a process in the permitting? So currently, we don't have these providers permitted. Help me understand that phrasing in the presentation. And it was on the operational enforcement responsibility slide. With the downward arrows, there it is. Receive and process permits. So we do have them in a database so we know who our generators are of this part of the food inspection process?
Right, so the majority of grease traps, probably 99% are going to be food establishments.
Sure.
And so Liz has a list of all the current food establishment operations in the city. So she has something we can easily email out. We have all those addresses from our health permits. So what we're going to do is work on trying to sync up the health permit with the grease trap permit. We'll make them fill it out now, but ideally, so they don't have to remember 2 or 3 different dates for their permits. Let's sync them up with one. And so that's our goal, is to try and make it be as business friendly as we can. We know we're going to impose the new fees on them, but let's not make it any more complicated than we have to. So if we can get those synced up. Because there's also an inspection fee that goes along with this, is permitting and inspection. And so just trying to align everything, make it as easy for them as possible. And also make sure we got our permits on the back end clear and ready to go too, so.
Shane, thank you for the clarification. I appreciate that. And I certainly appreciate the consolidation or the realignment of the databases on the points of contact and syncing up their fee structure. So thank you very much for that clarification. That was my only question. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? No? This item is marked for action, so if there are no further questions or discussions,
Mayor, I move to approve ordinance number 3847 as presented.
Mayor, I'll second that.
Very good. We have a motion and a second. Please indicate your vote. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much.
Thank you all. Councilman Jackson, I will let you know when I get Jeff in the sewer main.
Jeff, we'll see you in the sewer.
Looking forward to it.
Okay. All righty. Next up is item J3, consider approving Resolution 2024-016, authorizing the city manager to execute a change order number 1 for the design-build contract for the multi-sport facility with Lee Lewis Construction Incorporated in the amount not to exceed $454,839 and amend the budget accordingly and take appropriate action.
I just want to give the council a quick heads up. Allison Cook, our Director of Economic Development and Tourism, is feeling very unwell, so the team members you see before you're stepping up to fulfill her presentations for tonight for the next 3 agenda items. So just giving you a heads up why you're not seeing Allison tonight.
Council, Mayor, Tammy Zimmerman, Director of Finance. So I am filling in for Allison, but I do not have her wit, so I will just get through the slides. Okay, so as the mayor read, this is a resolution authorizing a change order for our multi-sport facility with Lee Lewis Construction. And there's the picture of the groundbreaking ceremony at the multi-sport facility that's located on Pike Street and IH-35 frontage road. So to give a little bit of a background on the timeline, the city issued certificates of obligation bonds in the amount of $23.81 million. And the net proceeds from that were $23,355,161, which is the exact amount of the design-build contract that we have with Lee Lewis. And that was done in December of 2022. Now in 2023, we had some site design, we had some purchasing of land, and we were a little bit delayed in when the site work started, and that started on December of 2023. So during that time, we've held those bond proceeds and we've earned interest income on that. And it's specific in the bond ordinance that that interest can only be used on the project. So what we're proposing with this contract change order is that the additional amount, and it's $454,839, will bump up the total contract to the $23.81 million, and that will allow for some increases for AV, low voltage equipment, signage, and graphics. What we'll have to do, if this is approved by council, is bring forward a budget amendment at mid-year to include the increase in project expenditures. So kind of just to reiterate, we're doing the change order because we've got some additional expenses that we've identified. We can use the interest income that's been earned on the proceeds for these additional expenses, and we can only use it on this project. And it has no additional tax dollars from the citizens. And that's just a picture of the facility. Are there any, I guess that was supposed to be the questions and comments.
Thank you, Tam. Thank you. Pretty simple. We took the bond money, it's earned interest, and that interest is going to go right back into the project.
Correct.
Yep. So, any questions, comments? Seeing none. Oh, did I miss? Oh, seeing none. We'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, I motion to approve resolution number 2024-016 as presented.
Very good.
Mayor, I'll second that.
Thank you. Motion is second. If you would, please indicate your vote accordingly. Motion passes unanimously. Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is item J4, receive an update on issuing certificates of obligation for a new facility with the North Texas Emergency Communications Center.
Good evening, council, mayor. Hopefully you're enjoying the evening as much as I am. This is just an update really on the North Texas, or on the future of the North Texas Emergency Communications Center, or INTEC. And I guess I'll start this off by saying we are one of 4 cities receiving this presentation tonight. The 3 additional cities that participate within INTEC are also seeing this same exact presentation this evening. And all 4 of those cities, Carrollton, Farmers Branch, Addison, and Coppell, really are just coming to you today for additional feedback so that we can provide to the board of directors of INTEC. Just a little bit of background information for INTEC. It was officially formed in 2014. The idea was it would help provide a high level of public safety communication services and also be able to help better coordinate regional partnerships, which are those 4 cities I just mentioned, the emergency services between those 4 cities. They officially started operating in their current location in April of 2016. And as part of this facility, it was the first 911 center in the state to utilize the AT&T ESI net with 100% uptime. That might sound like a ton of jargon. So just to break that down, the ESI net really provides for a more reliable emergency call network. It's better able to handle call volume spikes. It can offer some tools like text to 911 capabilities, things like that. And then the 100% uptime really just means that the facility is designed to never go down. So there's redundancy in the amount of power going to this facility. They have things called UPSs, or uninterruptible power supplies. So it's really set up to operate no matter what is going on around this facility. In addition to that, this INTEC upgraded the public safety radio system at no cost to residents. That was actually funded through grants that INTEC obtained to help pay for that $1 million upgrade. As far as the current facility goes, it is located within a CyrusOne data center. This is located off of Frankford Road in Carrollton. The current facility is 11,800 square feet. And when the lease was signed, it was signed as is. So the landlord, which is CyrusOne, is not responsible for really any of the maintenance, with the exception of AC unit that they do share between the call center and CyrusOne. And that original lease was for 15 years. Even though they officially started in 2016, that original lease date did start on April 1st, 2014. So that 15 years is up in April of 2029. As far as what has gone on so far, a timeline has been presented to the board of directors, and that board of directors consists of the city managers of the 4 participating cities. One of those timelines was that should INTEC leave this current facility and move into a new facility, that construction would really need to start no later than October 2025 in order to have that facility up and operating prior to the end of the current lease term. In addition to that, consultants were hired to run need assessments over the last, for the 20 years upcoming. Also help provide cost estimates and develop a standard for the space needs that INTEC would need for a future facility. And I do want to call out Allison Cook, our Economic Development Director. She did a lot of heavy lifting on this, including really putting this whole package together that you're seeing not only in this presentation, but a lot of the analysis, site analysis, what would be required, cost analysis. She did a lot of that background work as well, not only for us, but really for all of the participating cities within INTEC. I guess the background here says she was originally brought on to look into negotiating a new lease with CyrusOne. At the end of the day, that was really found to be cost prohibitive as far as adding or either adding space to that new lease or just amending the lease or re-signing the lease. It was in general found to be cost prohibitive. So I guess the next thing that was looked at was looking into how to determine an appropriate facility size. So the INTEC Board of Directors really looked at increasing the overall square footage, which it's pretty clear that that's already needed. And also another big one is develop the needs assessment for training and operations growth. So how can we also not only have employees on site, but how can we continue to train them and bring them up to speed on any new improvements? In terms of calculating square footage, a lot of that it was based on maintaining the service levels that currently exist with a growth of 3%, which that's coming in from the amount of calls that INTEC is having to handle in order to disperse that to the relevant emergency personnel. And that's that 3% growth is kind of what we've seen over most of the last 8 years, the only exception being 2023. As far as what this could look like if a new facility were to be built, we're probably looking at a multi-story facility. This is by no means a real or actual blueprint. It's really just more to give you an idea of what this could potentially look like, where you have offices on one floor, training room, break rooms, things like that. And then you really have your operational center on the other floor, which is where everybody's going to be, really the heart of the call center is going to be located. One of the reasons we have looked at doing multiple stories rather than have it all on one story is that the 2 stories would save approximately 10 to 15% in overall construction cost. Really, what realistically we're probably looking at is a facility that's somewhere between 20 and 22,000 square feet overall, which is almost doubles what the current 11,800 square foot facility can handle. And then also additional results of this study, the other question would be, hey, can we look at an existing facility and just retrofit it, or an existing building, just retrofit it? And that was also found to be cost prohibitive because going back to the fact that this really can't be a facility that comes offline, a bunch of redundancies would have to be put into an existing building. Things like 2 different sources of power would be required to operate this facility. The building would have to be strengthened to handle up to, I believe, an EF3 tornado wind speed, which is, you're pushing 165 miles per hour at that point. So obviously a little bit of a brisk wind, so not something your standard facility is going to be able to handle. When it comes to looking forward to, this is where I think you really start seeing the difference between either continuing to lease or rent a facility versus build a new facility. In general, at the end of, we're looking kind of 30 years in the, from now to 30 years from now, or from 2029 to 30 years from 2029, you're looking at savings of almost $25 million between finding a site and building versus continuing to lease. And this is where you kind of see the breakdown. Not each city, I guess, pays a different amount into the overall INTEC, and that's all based off of 3 calendar year average of calls for service. So not everybody is paying the same amount, but you can see the cities that are paying more, say Carrollton, see a bigger difference than, say, Coppell, who's paying the least currently into this system. This shows you what that breakdown of percentages is that fund INTEC. And one other thing I guess I'll point out here too is when you look at the total cost to buy land and build a new facility, you'll see this almost $20.8 million figure. I'll just back up real quick because you might look at this and say, oh, well, what's the difference in cost? This is strictly to build the facility, buy land and build the facility. That's the cost estimate there. This includes a bunch of other factors, utilities factored into this, additional equipment required to operate the building is factored into this, maintenance, upkeep, all of that has been factored into this cost, which is not going to be reflected here. What you also see is what the city, Farmers Branch, would be really required to spend in order to kind of buy land and build this new facility. We're not looking at the whole $20 million figure. We're just looking at the 22.54% share that we currently have with Intech. So you're almost up to $4.7 million approximately as far as what the city of Farmers Branch would be looking to spend in order to continue to go down this route. Again, I'll go back to the cost savings that we are seeing compared to build and rent. You are seeing a significant difference in dollars over that 30-year time span. So based on all that information, Intech was, the board of directors was also handed this information. Looking at that, their recommendation is to move forward with trying to build a new facility. Obviously, they're not the end-all be-all when it comes to the final decision, but right now, if we were to pursue this, what we'd be looking at is this timeline that you see here. An architect would be hired by the end of this year. We'd be looking at construction starting sometime towards the fall of next year. And then the idea would be that this facility would be up and operational before the end of this, the current 15-year lease term, which again is up in April 2029. So after all that, do you have any questions or?
Can you go back go back to board recommendation. So do the other cities, I'm just curious, do the cities plan on having this as a bond, either election or issuance of certificates of obligation this May?
I will take that one.
Okay.
My understanding is Capel and Carrollton, I believe, are using cash. Addison and Farmers Branch are considering certificates of obligation. So for certificates of obligation, as council's briefed on this and affirms the direction, finance will begin the process for notifications of COs that'll involve the council, and it'll trigger that process with the council to begin our process. It won't necessarily be with the May election. It's a separate process because it's not an election, it's a council process.
Understood. So let's just assume May, though, for conversational purposes. Does it take 7 months to get everybody on board to select an architect?
Yeah, there's actually a couple of intervening steps that have to occur prior to even the selection of architect. First of all, of course, you have to go out and do statements of qualifications and get somebody, interview, go through that, assessment process, which takes a good couple of months. But even prior to that, one of the things we do have to do is under the interlocal, there's if you recall, or you may not recall, there's actually a 5-party interlocal agreement amongst Intech and the 4 owner cities that dictates how this cost sharing goes about for everything. It excludes specifically capital projects such as this. So what we will need to do here probably in the next few weeks is prepare a separate interlocal agreement that establishes and commits everybody to this project. So this is not the final end all. Intech does not have unilateral authority to do this project. We have to come back and get a separate interlocal agreement for this project for all 5 parties, Intech and the 4 cities, to sign off, which will set out the allocations of everybody's cost sharing and all, and kind of set and who's doing what in the project.
Okay.
So that'll be a few weeks. So there's a number of things that have got to happen between now and then.
Okay, all right. And
That industry couldn't happen earlier.
okay, well, let's assume we'll go by this time schedule. So then it's almost another year to get a contractor selected, which.
Let me add one more step. There's also a piece of property we've got to find and buy.
Okay.
And and so that'll be another step that has to occur, and probably ought to occur even before we do architect selection process because they need to know what piece of dirt they're going to be designing on.
Okay.
So there's even a couple of major steps to happen.
Okay. My last question was going to be, okay, if we begin construction in October 25, and does it take 3 years to build a facility like this? I mean, I've moved radio stations within a year, from 6 different facilities into one facility. And I know this is a complicated, very technical operation. It has to be tested, retested, et cetera, et cetera. So is that 3-year window, is that really a valid window?
I'm going to jump in on this one. So key terms here are by December, by October. We plan on considering these topics earlier and getting the preparations done, but we want to be realistic with the timeline, as we've seen with certain capital projects, especially when they're led by outside organizations. Sometimes we're like, hey, this will happen in January, or hey, this will open in November, and then it's 3 months later, 6 months later, a year later. Considering it's our emergency dispatch, we're going to have overlap to make sure we can guarantee that service level.
Right.
So there will be, I would rather have a longer overlap and guarantee dispatch doesn't get interrupted versus go down to the wire and save a couple pennies on the dollar. So there will be overlap, and that's intentional to make sure when we flip the switch, everything goes as planned and intended to where there's not a disruption to the residents.
Understood. Okay. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you. Any other questions? Councilman Jackson.
So along the same lines, it's going to take a long time to build this thing. We're looking at COs of 5 million. Is that right? The cost is 4.6. We don't even start construction for a year and 9 months at most, but assume a year out. Do we have cost protections in this? I mean, by the time we go to construction, the cost of materials and labor and all of that, is it possible this could exceed our COs and now we've got to come up with more money? I mean, how does that work?
Chris, I'll meet you again on this one.
Okay.
There's a contingency built into this amount already. So you have FF&E not included, but you also have some existing pieces of equipment. But the big thing is that's been accounted for in the conversations we've had. So there is a strong contingency built into this budget. In addition, considering the time value of money and everything else that's moving to make sure we're prepared for that. I can't absolutely say there won't be a change, but we've built, as the 4 cities and the 4 city managers, we have built a structure that we're confident in that will deliver to our councils and the residents. So we're confident in this pricing structure that we have.
Okay, thank you.
Councilman Merritt.
Chris, thank you for the presentation. Do you happen to know the annual INTEC budget that we build already into our annual budgets?
I don't know that figure off the top of my head, but I can get that to you.
And I think the question goes back to when you were using on another slide here, where you have the maintenance and those costs. The point I'm trying to connect here is that we build those costs into our annual budget on that basis. And so we're joining the CO dollars that are projected to be agreed upon at some point with the annual budget for INTEC to cover these costs. So that's what I wanted to kind of connect the dots, if I could. Tammy's going to clean up my...
She is.
I'm gonna
Yeah,
come
you
in.
got this.
Clean up my connection with the...
So we actually did have a conference call today, the 4 cities with INTEC, as we're going through their fiscal year 25 budget. So we'll get their budgets, we get our allocation, and we build it into our own separate budgets.
Very good. Thank you. I just wanted to make sure that we had that conversation, that we are providing through our portion the facility and services contract, if you will, with INTEC on an annual basis. And this is simply buying the building and the lot and all of the other fun stuff that has to go into it, dual power, which is not an easy thing to arrive
No,
at
it's
that.
kind of tough to find, you know?
Yes. So thank you.
It's a large
That
cost
was
in
my
our
only
budget,
question,
yeah.
Mayor. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anybody? Councilman Roma?
So you said that when we were looking for a building, there are certain requirements that we're looking for them. Can you walk me through what those are again? You said something about tornado.
A couple of those are, yeah, and this is by no means an exhaustive list, but some of it is the redundancy that we've talked about. Two different sources of power to ensure that if one line goes out, you still have power supplying this facility, and then on top of that, you have that UPS or the uninterruptible power supply for this facility. It's also got to be able to withstand, again, wind speeds up to an EF3 tornado, because obviously we're in Texas, we see some strong storms here, and when we encounter an emergency or some sort of strong storm system like that, it's got to be built to withstand that, and that's not something you're going to see out of your typical commercial structure. That's you're talking about, reinforcement of the building material and all that in order to withstand a wind speed up to that high a speed.
Okay, so two power sources.
And again, that's not an exhaustive list. Those are a couple of the things that would be required in this.
Do we know if the current space?
And I guess I would, sorry, not
Do we
cutting
know
out.
if the current space meets all of the qualifications and specifications that we're looking for?
Off the top of my head, I don't know, but I can definitely find that out for you and get that over to you as soon as I can.
Okay. When do you think you can get that to me?
It should be something I can try and round up.
Chris,
I would say,
I can get that tonight for everybody.
can you? Okay, perfect. I was going to say by tomorrow, but even better.
And then you mentioned that the cost allocation for this is based off of call volume, right?
Yes.
And what period is that call volume for?
3 years. 3 calendar year average.
The average of the last 3 calendar years?
Yes.
Okay.
It's a rolling 3-year average.
Okay.
Yeah.
Will you go to your first slide after the title slide? So I think it's important to highlight this, and I think some other members of council, and I know the mayor, have received some complaints about this. The first sentence here, NTIC was formed in 2014 to provide a high level of public safety communication services.
Mm-hmm.
There have been several instances that have given us question about the quality of services. I think it's important that if residents are seeing the amount of money that we are spending on a new facility, some people have equated that to, and I think what someone told me is we're feeding the monster. I think it's important for us to be able to address, as we're having this discussion, ways that we are working with the other cities to try and address this. Ben, can you kind of shed some light on ways that we're helping to bring light to and address any servicing issues that we may have experienced?
So my apologies for the brief disruption. I was requesting the facility requirements there, but it's according to INTEC and the service level, the biggest thing has been the pathway from the residents to the council, and sometimes residents directly to myself, or residents to my chiefs and my chiefs to myself. Of any time there was an unexpected anything with a response in that partnership with INTEC. A great example would be Councilman Baird at one time had reached out to me about a wreck that was in close proximity, and it seemed like the response was longer than normal, but then we found out that wasn't our city. So sometimes the city borders are pretty close together. And there's also some logical explanations with infrastructure. INTEC can only process the calls they get, so we do have some challenges along the border with Dallas, where the call will go and be routed to Dallas. And so that's one of the challenges we've run into as well.
Ben, if I may stop you there, it's not the servicing issues that I was referring to.
I'm so sorry.
For instance, a dispatcher having an argument with a council member about the location, whether they're in Dallas or in Farmers Branch, or police officers being given the wrong address for where they need to respond to. Those are the types of servicing issues that I'm talking about.
Those, when brought to our attention, are immediately brought to the director of INTEC's attention, and he addresses those through his personnel procedures with his personnel when they do not meet expectations or fail to meet expectations. So if there's a situation where they don't deliver the service we expect to see, that is handled through Terry Gossick as the director of INTEC and his personnel.
And it's my understanding that you've communicated what our concerns are regarding servicing issues.
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you.
Any further questions? Okay, thank you for the presentation.
Sure.
All right. Next up is item J5, which is to receive report on the November 2023 National Pickleball Tournament. Yay!
Let's get out of your way. How's that?
Thank you. Hello,
Let
good
us deal
evening,
with
Mayor and
something fun.
Council. Yes, I get to present something really fun. I'm Meredith Dowdy. I'm with the tourism team. I'm going to start by showing you guys a brief video here.
The pickleball event is going so well this year. We're excited about it. We see the action and the activity going with the community.
The Farmers Branch team has been very, very responsive, very, very involved from the permitting to the planning.
I'm more than thankful for how well all the city departments stepped up.
We've never really experienced anything like that.
So it's a great fit, the National Pickleball Tournament.
But now we are on a playing field with some of the biggest sporting events in the world.
We're all in, so it's wonderful. We even had some guests tell us they're already registered for next year to come back, and they're staying with us.
So it was a great event, and I just want to say thank you to all of you for your support. Thank you to our residents for their support. Thank you to all of the departments and city and PPA and Brookhaven and everybody that made this event happen. It was a huge event, and I get to come here and share the good news with you guys about all the data and all of those points that we wanted, and it's great. So I'm going to get into it and hopefully not keep you guys too long. Okay. So just a little bit of background. It was held at Brookhaven Country Club in November of 2023. And it was a partnership between the Professional Pickleball Association and USAP, which is USA Pickleball. So we brought amateurs and professionals into Farmers Branch to play. It was the largest tournament that they've ever done, and they had over 3,500 players and over 50,000 in attendance over the course of the week. We also got to partner with a lot of local companies and partnerships, and one of those was Dallas College at Brookhaven. And so they helped us provide the parking location, and then PPA provided the shuttles. So like I said, a total of over 50,000 attendees descended on Brookhaven Country Club, and that was for 7 days, and they had a lot of fun. As you can see here in this picture, that was the Celebrity Pickleball Showdown that night, and it was a great night, great event. The peak attendance for the event was Saturday, November the 11th, and they had over 9,500 fans come in that day. Last year, just by comparison, in 2022, when it wasn't held in Farmers Branch, they had 4,000 for their peak attendance. This is a report that Dallas Sports Commission sent us with their economic impact. This was numbers that were run through Destinations International. So it just kind of shows you how much of the impact for the whole region this had. This isn't just Farmers Branch. And then just to give you guys a little bit of information about what your tourism team helped to do during this event. So we were able to work with our hotel partners and build in room blocks for this event. And part of that was letting people stay in Farmers Branch and helping PPA bring people here. We had an agreement with them. We were the only city that had room blocks for this event, which was amazing. Part of what we did as the tourism team to help welcome visitors is provide welcoming decor when they walked in, and you can kind of see some of the decor here. But not only did this provide a fun, welcoming environment, we also had marketing material about the city. We had information about the shuttles that we provided. We met with our hotel partners prior to this event to make sure that their staff was informed so questions could be answered, that we had a high level of customer service going in. We also provided packets for each person that booked a hotel room for this event that provided information about the city, information about the shuttles, and everything that they needed at their their fingertips. We even heard from PPA that they loved this so much, they're going to try and implement it at most of their tournaments going all around the country. So we were very proud of that, and the fact that everybody that came in said that they loved being in Farmers Branch. And we also want to make sure that we recognize all the other departments that really, really helped and pitched in this. This was one of those events that I don't think anybody knew what it was going to take when we started it. We knew it was going to be big, but we didn't know how big. And so we worked together as a team with community services, public works, planning, fire, police, communications, finance, parks, and economic development. So all of these different departments had a hand in this event. It was great. It was amazing to get to work with everybody. So part of what we had out at the event was some marketing opportunities. So we set up the Discover Farmers Branch signage. We had different things there. PPA was on, and I have some marketing data here. They had over 1.6 billion reach. That's a big reach. They also had 20 plus hours of coverage across ESPN, Tennis Channel, and Pickleball TV. They had 390,000 viewers that tuned into the Celebrity Pickleball Showdown on ESPN. So this was huge. And Farmers Branch was right there. They were saying Farmers Branch pretty much the whole time. Our mayor got interviewed on several occasions by different local news sources and different things like that. So we were able to really be in the forefront of this event. The other thing that we did, we had a tent with the Dallas Sports Commission, and we were able to provide visitors that came out information about our city and about Dallas and things to do, help them with local recommendations, and our recreation team worked a lot of those days, so we're thankful for them. Allison has coined us the Dream Team, and that's her affectionate name for us. We were out there pretty much every day working, helping PPA solve problems and get solutions done for this event as we went through it. And then this was our chaos of our office before it all happened. So as you guys know, when you're working on an event, it can get kind of crazy. We also provided, like I said, the shuttle signage. We helped with the shuttles and working with PPA to come out with the appropriate routes and making sure that they were going where they needed to go, making sure that the hotels were aware and communicating with everybody. Another thing that we did assist with was, and this was where our residents came into the picture, and they were very, very forgiving and very, very understanding, and we appreciate that so much, but the parking. And so our team helped create some information about that, helped come up with the town hall meeting, but also mailing the parking permits, and we also had assistance from other departments with that as well, so thank you to them. Again, lots of no parking signs. We put out a lot of no parking signs, and as the event went on, we changed gears and we learned and we took everybody's feedback and we tried to make it better. So, and then Ben Williamson helped us too with delivering parking permits. So 3 of our team members, Ben and Ann and Allison, walked the neighborhood right by Brookhaven and made sure that everybody there got all the information, which was greatly appreciated. We heard lots of great feedback about that. And we even got to meet some celebrities along the way. Not only was the PPA had some celebrities out there, but the Golden Bachelor was there. So Ben and Allison got their photo with him that night. So it was fun. It was a great event. It brought obviously a lot of people to Farmers Branch, and it was really amazing. This is just kind of a rundown so you can kind of see we're not good about bragging on ourselves, but this is a lot of the things we did, and we just wanted to make sure that it was on here, but we also wanted to thank the rest of our colleagues. So Public Works, thank you for your assistance with signage installation, as well as digital message boards. Communications helped us with the letters and mailed the permits to the area around Brookhaven. Community Services helped hand out permits for residents who didn't receive the mailer, and they were in multiple meetings. The Health Department, Liz was out there quite a bit, helping everyone to stay safe. Our Parks Department helped deliver items to the hotels. They helped cover City Hall, and the rec staff helped man the visitor tent. Our Fire Department was integral in reviewing plans and making recommendations on that. They also were in attendance in a lot of the meetings as well to make sure everybody that was out there was safe. Our city manager, again, walking Golfing Green with us. City Secretary's office, making sure that passes were were handed out into area elected officials and representatives. Police, yes, they were also very, very integral, assisted with last-minute celebrity showdown needs. They helped direct traffic, and they also helped a lot with meeting with the PPA and coming up with a safety plan. And then planning. Thank you to our planning team. You guys, I'm sure we're excited to have a clean office again. So they were just very understanding. So these are some local numbers. So when we did the hotel blocks, this is something we're very proud of. So when we look at the hotel tax for every month, year over year, this year was higher than any other year that we've had in November. So this year was $70,473 higher than any year we've ever had in the month of November. And that is because of pickleball. That is a huge number coming into our city. Our highest event, or our highest year previous to that, was $233,588. So this was a big increase, over 30%. We're very proud of that number. We also, this is a number of hotel room nights that your tourism team actually worked with. So these were in the block. So this isn't all the numbers of hotel room nights, but these are the people that were specifically in the block. Some people book on Expedia. Some people book on Hilton's website because they have points. So those numbers are not included in this, but these are all the people that booked directly with the links that we provided. So that's a lot. So just with this number, this is a hotel revenue that was generated for our hotels just with room nights. This doesn't include food and beverage or anything like that. So that's just that number. Also the direct visitor spend, which we have a formula that we use for that. For those hotel guests alone, it was 1.9 million. Sales tax, so that comes to $19,000 as a 1% with sales tax. And then the average daily rate and the hotel, tax generated just with that room block. So we're very excited about those numbers. And then just some pictures of everybody enjoying the event. It was really fun. I appreciate all of your support, all of everybody that came out and was able to see and experience everything. It was one of my favorite weeks, so pretty cool. So I can answer any questions you all may have.
Thank you, Meredith. Yeah, you said you're not good at bragging on yourself. I think you did a good job there, but I'd like to congratulate you, Ann and Nancy, for a job well done. Most people, I being owning an event company, most people don't see the behind the scenes, what it takes to pull off an event. And let me tell you, Brookhaven would have been they just would have been a world of hurt had we not had you all in place to help them. I sat in months of meetings. I know you were in meetings longer than I was there. So there was so much discussion behind the scenes, so much attention to detail to try to get things planned. Obviously, when we went out to California to see, and I know I gave you 4 pages of notes of my observations, you were probably like, oh, why do we even take this guy? But, I looked for little things, and I noticed a lot of little things, and I think we worked to try to help ensure that our event would be protected, because the last thing you want to do is you have an event in your city and somebody drops the ball. Doesn't matter who. They're just going to say, oh, Farmers Branch, ugh. We worked really hard to make sure that nobody left with that type of experience. Were there some bugs? Absolutely. And they'll be addressed for next year. And like I said a while back, this event is coming back. And, we have a chance to really create our own little niche in the sports market. And I think that's very important. We don't have to be big. But to own something like this, which gets national attention, is really huge. And so I'm hopeful that we keep the momentum going. I know we've already had, Ben and Allison and I had conversations with the owner of PPA, the CEO, COO of Invited or Club Corp. And so they are very pumped up. And to listen to these guys talk and just hear the ideas that are coming out of their mouth, for somebody like me, it's really exciting because that means money. And that's only going to benefit our community. So thank you. Thank you for doing what you did. And thank you to all the other departments, because everybody had to pitch in some form or fashion to make this really a reality. You don't really think about it, but health permits, inspections to make sure that bleachers and grandstands aren't going to crumble down. So you got building inspection and code, all of that. And the work that the police did, the work that fire did. To my knowledge, we only had one issue where we had to call an ambulance. You didn't mention that I was directing traffic that night with Rory Babineau. And some guy drives by, I go, wow, the mayor's directing traffic. That's cool. I'm like, go, get out of here. But we had to get equipment in there really quick, which meant stopping the street and all that. And he was out there by himself, so I jumped in to help. And just all hands on deck. And thank you to the council for showing up and mingling with folks in the VIP area and talk with other guests. This was just such a great event for our city. I couldn't be a bigger cheerleader for Farmers Branch or the pickleball event. So just want to say thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Just real quick, Mayor, Dream Team is an appropriate name for Meredith, Ann, and Nancy. I think originally we were thinking there might be about 30,000 expected, and to turn that into 50,000, right, is unbelievable. It's just crazy. It was the little touches that you guys added that really turned into big results. It was your hard work, your attention to detail, and I won't belabor it, but to echo the mayor's comments, just incredible job done. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm sure planning has already started for next year. And
yes.
You guys are that good, and I'll echo the comments. It was a fantastic event, and as the mayor alluded to, and I know firsthand, there were a lot of opportunities that were probably overlooked by the sponsors, the actual hosts, and you guys filled in the gaps and made those as seamless as possible. And it's just the accolades to you guys is just off the chart. So thank you so much for all that you did. And this is just one example, in my opinion, of all the work that you do on all the other events that are occurring in the city, whether they be soccer tournaments and all of the other events. So I just want to thank you again for all that you guys do. So
thank you.
Thanks.
Bells.
All right.
Terry, you forgot to mention that I was the person who actually called 911.
Oh.
You took all the credit.
Let me correct.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I was barking out orders. You, go call 911. That was Omar. And you, go get some ice and all that. And so thank you for being my partner there that night.
It truly was a team effort. Team, yes, everyone.
So I appreciate that.
Sure. Thank you guys for all that you do. I know it was a lot of work, and like Richard said, all the little touches made a difference. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Meredith.
Thank you very much.
And ladies, thank you.
Yes, and Nancy and Anna right here, they moved up, so they're here too. I got to do the presentation, but.
We're done. All right. Well, that concludes our business for this evening. Thank you all for coming, and we will see you February 6th. So have a good evening.